I stood there with Paul Harrigan in the second test, and because the Aussie, the flat man looked...
We are live now, by the way.
Oh,
Are we opening?
Good open.
Yeah, we'll get some.
There's
There's so much hot air in here, we might as well get rid of some of it.
Right then.
You know, we get people reviewers on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as the youth call it these days. Or the app they're out, by the way. The thingy bobs.
All right.
Disciplinaries. I'll go to the RFL website next. And we were described on iTunes the other week as four middle-aged blokes talking over each other. So in the spirit of diversity, we've got a woman in.
It's the first time I've ever been called that.
Who isn't middle?
No?
Not yet. I'm not far off, you know. Catching up.
I have a question for you later.
Interesting.
4020 live on Facebook, on YouTube. 4 Catalan players have been banned. Edwards referred at grade C. Cheers, Matt.
Oh, okay.
So that's good for Friday, because this is obviously when we decided to book
Which are the four players? Obviously, McAlorum and Tompkins. Edwards.
No, Edwards won't be one of the ones that have been banned if he's
got grade C.
a grade C. So there'll be 4 others and him, which we'll check.
Oh, 4 others. All right, okay. All right.
But that's what happened on the field, not off it.
So we started with that. A typical ramshackle start to this programme. Again, apologies for people who just tuned in expecting professionalism and standards on this programme, and I just go straight in and talk a lot of rubbish. It's because we got like a guest in. Danica Singer, how are you?
Alright, how are you? Am I a guest?
Cup winner.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're not a guest.
Officially a cup winner.
Not a guest,
I
are
feel
you?
like
Because
I could be part of the group now.
well, you are a 4020 magazine columnist, so you are part of the team here at 4020.
Wow, magic.
Congratulations.
I want to know,
He
can I
wouldn't
ask you
know
a
what winning
question?
a cup final is.
Can I
Like,
ask
so
you
he's in awe of you already.
Oh. Can I ask you a question, honestly? How much did you have to edit of my collar?
Less
That's enough.
than the one I wrote.
The length of the...
Some.
Okay, I'll take that.
But you need the raw material.
Yeah, you
As
do.
an editor, all you can ask for is the raw
How come you've never asked me to do a column for your magazine, Mr.
Because it's writing. It's joined up words.
Oh, is it? All right, okay.
I'm
So
a rugby league anomaly. I've got intelligence.
What's that mean?
That's why I got
Another
that.
one.
Yeah. It's a
What's
big
that
word.
mean?
It's a big word, isn't it?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I'm an odd one. Oddball.
All right, okay.
Dodgy one.
Right. You're not Bilal, say?
Say no more. Well.
This started well. I think you know, of all the decisions I've made,
It's called building up relationships and trust, Mr. Shaw, right? Building relationships and trust.
because as we said before, I chose when we worked elsewhere not to do the Wakefield Wigan game that Wakefield won 30-60 or whatever it was. And now I've actually made a right decision. Here is the disciplinary match review panel on the RFL website. They don't do this for a women's game.
We'll talk about that.
Oh, this is a long
It's a long list. It is a long list.
Adam Walm, Huddersfield, I'm not be bored over. Grade B, dangerous contact, 1 match penalty notice. Dan Sargent and Wigan, Grade A, dangerous contact, 0 match penalty notice.
Not that dangerous though.
Here we go, and all the rest of this one. Well, there's a few who've got like cautions, but no one cares about them. Braden William, Catalans, Grade B, dangerous throw, 1 match penalty notice. Mikel Simon, Catalans, Grade A, headbutt, 1 match penalty notice. Only 1 matches for a headbutt. Chris Hill, Grade A, punching, 0 matches. Tom Lynham, Warrington, Grade A, strikes with shoulder, 1 match.
So strikes with shoulders 1 match, but a punch no match.
Kenny Edwards, Grade A, strikes with knee, 0 matches, more follows. Sam Tompkins, Grade C, punching, 3 match penalty notice. Bye, Sam.
But Chris Hill's still got...
Yeah, what's the difference between Sam Tompkins' punch and Chris Hill's punch then?
We're not
Surely a
finished.
forward must punch harder than a back.
We're not finished yet. Mickey
Let's
McAlorum,
find out.
Catalans, Grade B, high tackle, 1 match penalty notice. Kenny Edwards, in bold, brackets Catalans, Grade C, other contrary behaviour, refer to tribunal, asterisk. In respect to the Kenny Edwards, other contrary behaviour charge, the match review panel elected to refer this to the Operational Rules Tribunal under section 3.4 of the sentencing guidelines. Deep breath. The rationale behind this is that due to the obscure nature of the charge and there being no comparable evidence in which the panel to compare, it was deemed appropriate to issue a direct referral for consideration rather than issue a penalty notice. The offence occurred on the pitch and therefore has been charged under the on-field sentencing guidelines.
Incitement, in other words.
Let's start with
Is that it?
that is it. That is the full list. There's a few people who've got. I mean, Kenny Edwards has done well. He's on the list 3 times. He got a caution for running in, as did Tom Lynham, as did David Mead, and Mickey Mack also got another contrary behaviour caution. I could read the minutes of the match review panel, but people can do that themselves. It is the big issue in rugby league this weekend. And before we start, this is because people have refused to buy newspapers and whatever because of what journalists and people have tweeted this week. This is not an anti-Warrington or anti-Cantwell.
Yeah.
No, for France watchers.
Right. I'm ready for
But-
this. I'm ready.
Go on,
I tell you, I'm ready for this. When you just hear them from the disciplining point of view, right? I find it absolutely quite pathetic. Do you know why? Because when you're looking here, certainly what with football and stuff going on with football, this weekend at Manchester City and Liverpool down London and on the tube and why we talk about hooligans, and then when we promote our game and we tell everybody about our game, we're a family game and we want everybody to come and enjoy the experience, whether it's the first time, your 100th time, or the 1000th time. And then when we have something like this on Saturday, prevention cures everything. For anything to happen like this, it should be prevented. First of all, the referee was weak. I think there was two or three balls before it all kicked off from there. So I felt as though James Shall could have handled the game a bit better. They can't do anything off the field from there. And also too, at times when the players want to take on their own rules, as we would say. And also too, I felt as well the players at times didn't give the referee the respect what he deserved. The way they tried to referee the game from there. But James was a little bit weak. But anyway. So now, going on to these two clubs, and if you just say there, Richard, that people are whinging and complaining, not by magazine because what press have said, there's no blame game here to anybody except the two clubs in Warrington and Catalans for what happened on Saturday. Warrington and Catalans for what happened on Saturday on the field and off the field. Now let me just read this here before I go on what I think should happen to these two clubs. There's a Warrington fan here who's put a bit in there and he was at the ground. And also said, I'm not saying that Warrington fans were angels, they weren't, and I'm not condoning their actions in the slightest, but what about this here? There are a fair few that follow us that like a scrap, but I've never seen anything like the provocation that was coming from Catalan section in my 30 years watching Warrington. Well, alright, if this is a Warrington fan, why isn't he telling the Warrington club regarding these hooligans, are so-called, who are supporting this club, who love a scrap, I would say, week in and week out? There's no blame game here to anybody except the two clubs in Warrington and Catalan for what happened on Saturday. And if I was in charge of the Rugby Football League, today I would have had the chairman of both clubs, I would have had the CEO of the both clubs, I would have had the coach of the both clubs, and I would have had the captains of the both clubs as well. And it's quite simple. Me as the head of the Rugby Football League, this is what's happening. I'm not blaming Warrington, I'm not blaming Catalans, I'm blaming you both 100%. There's not 75 Catalans, it's not 25% Warrington, it's not 75 Warrington, not 25% Catalans. You two clubs are to blame for what happened on Saturday, both on and off the field with the players, off the field with supporters. This is what's happening to you. And now, this is what I'm saying about prevention. And this tells everybody in Rugby League, certainly in Super League from there at the highest level. This prevents it. Prevention is the cure. So you, Warrington and Catalans, it's simple. You get a 4-point deduction and you fined £100,000. No blame game, you both caused that and that's your punishment from the game because this is all about Rugby League. Not about Catalans as a club, not about Warrington as a club, not about Super League. It's about the greatest game of all and it's about Rugby League. And what we saw on Saturday, both from the players and certainly from a point of view of the supporters, we don't ever want to see that again. Severe punishment. If I was in charge, it's 4 points and underground, and there's no arguments or debate. Prevention cures everything.
I watched it unfold, and again, the first thing is we've only got the pictures that we saw very briefly from a French director, and we've only got some footage of people's cameras.
You don't watch on telly, Phil?
Yeah. But we only saw whatever the French director showed us. It doesn't say who started it. And it doesn't say who was to blame for it. So the first thing that we need to do is ascertain the absolute fact. and that needs to come quickly, because the biggest problem we've had in rugby league is that when these incidents have happened before, and we're fooling ourselves to think that this is the first time something like that's happened, it's taken far too long for any governing body to actually bring the parties to justice.
First point then, Phil, let me just say this. Catalans will blame Warrington and Warrington will blame Catalans.
Well,
even now they're making excuses for the stewarding, this sort of thing. There's no blame game here, there's no percentage here. The both of you two clubs caused this situation.
But there has to be an investigation into how it started and how it escalated. Because it might be that just because two clubs are involved in it, the blame isn't the same for each of them. We have to get to the bottom of what caused that. So the first thing we need to do is not believe everything that we're seeing on social media. One of the things that you would have seen early on is a so-called Warrington fan who had a split head from it. It's proved that it's a completely bogus account, that it was taken off the internet years before, and it was set up specifically to make everything look worse than it was and to apportion blame, and for somebody who had nothing to do with it to be seen to be involved in something that they weren't. So you've got to be very careful before you start apportioning things, but you cannot let this thing take time. The game was brought into disrepute on Saturday.
Massively.
And we cannot wait.
Yeah, but you're not going to get to the bottom of it. So what you need to do is make a statement, like you said, of doing something a little bit extreme to both clubs involved. Because there's not a chance now you're going to find you're not going to get to the bottom of it unless you want to take it.
I was going to say one of the things that I found the most disturbing was that when these pictures were being relayed, there wasn't a single steward. Nobody came in to break up whatever was happening. You know, when normally there's an incident at a ground, you see stewards coming in and at least trying to keep people apart or trying to separate the two parties. There was nothing. So one thing that Catalan have to be brought to book for is the fact that there was no stewarding in an area where you had rival sets of fans. And that is something that you need to then take to the rest. One thing that has to happen out of all of this is there has to be recommendations for the sport as a whole, because this has happened on more occasions than we care to admit, merely by saying we're a family game and putting out this ridiculous statement saying rugby league is a family game, please be nice to each other. That's not enough, and it hasn't been enough for years. You've been to grounds where you've seen leery people that need more than just a tannoy announcement. So we need to decide the stewarding levels that we need, and if that's involved extra cost, then so be it. I think other things that we perhaps might learn out of something like this is that clearly alcohol and sun don't mix, and maybe games that kick off in Perpignan in July and August should be 3 o'clock in the afternoon rather than 6 o'clock in the evening, because again, prevention is better than cure. If you can spend all day drinking in the hot sun, it's a heady cocktail. But the other thing that it cannot be related to is anything that happened on the pitch. I don't accept that anything James Child may or may not have done had any relation to the behaviour of people who took it into their own hands.
I agree with that. Absolutely, I agree.
So we need
that.
to take that away from it. We've been a sport for 120 years where the whole of the essence of it is physical on the field, and that has never spilled off the field. We have had hundreds of thousands of games where there's been an element of teams confronting each other. Fans don't need to do that. That's all on the field. So even if there's been contentious decisions, even if there's been players overstepping the mark, that has to be dealt with by the disciplinary committee.
Couple of things then.
So all of the people who went on social media and blame the referee, they need to look at it.
Yeah, forget about them idiots, to be honest with you. Blaming. You can't blame James Shell for anything.
Not
he could have been a lot stronger. You know, that's the only.
But that's
the only
in
thing
the
I would say.
context
Yeah,
of the game. That doesn't excuse behaviour.
If players want to take things into their hands, they will do it, and he can't do anything else. So 3 things here, then, Phil. Let's go back to the semi-final with Leeds and Hull fans. You know, from my point of view, for what happened there, I think, did they get fined £50,000 suspended for 2 years or something? Well, really, Hull should have been kicked out for the Challenge Cup for 2 years, but nothing happened. Salford, when they played at Huddersfield, that realistically got swept under the carpet. There was nothing on there. And then also as well, when we're talking about fines and when we're looking at seriousness, because for me, what I saw on Saturday, that is the worst. That is the worst sort of hooliganism. And hooliganism being mentioned in Rugby League, it's ridiculous because we're not part of that. But what I'm saying is here, Phil, what I'm saying about with the 4 points, £100,000 from there, Castleford fans, and there really wasn't chatting, was there, about the Gareth Thomas situation. What did they get fined? £50,000. So can you tell me? Can you tell me exactly, Phil? So can you tell me what we saw on Saturday? what we saw on Saturday is nowhere near like, say if these get a portly, oh well, a slap on the wrist, and you're getting a £25,000 suspended for how long? Is worse than the Gareth Thomas situation for Castleford. It's absolutely pathetic.
A precedent set.
They need some crystals. The people at the top need some crystals.
An investigation first, and that has to be quick.
Mate, but well, do you know what, Phil? This is me. You're getting 4 points for getting underground, and now we'll investigate. But this is what's happening. This is what's happening. You're getting 4 points deducted, and you're getting £100,000 fine. And do you know what? If the club say we're not paying £100,000, well, you are, because we give distribution money, so we're not giving you it. Do you know what I mean? And then we can investigate it. And the investigators can take as long as what he wants. But there has got to be a precedent set, because if it isn't, it gives everybody a free go. It gives everybody a free go.
We are coming off the back of a weekend, of course, last weekend, where we had to come on this programme and talk about A, Hull FC fans being racist, because they were, and B, Hull FC fans throwing bottles on the pitch, because they did, and C, which also got unreported because kind of got swept under the carpet because everyone forgot about it at the end, Halifax fans coming on the pitch at the end of the match against St Helens, which is also illegal and you're not allowed to do. So, as Ian points out on Facebook, it is all our fault, and he's right. We've let everything get to this point, and it's fair enough people blaming James Charles. He does his job. If the players don't want to listen to him, then they'll get their just desserts upcoming. Someone's trying to blame Warrington's media team, but that's nonsense. Just because Wolfie does some daft things on social media. People have to take responsibility for their own actions, whether that's on the field or off the field. The players have to take responsibility. And I saw plenty of ex-players on social media on Saturday night saying, "Oh, it's nothing to do with us. Oh no, it's you know." The fans in the crowd, they make the decision. We go back to the players who take cocaine and then blame it on this, that, and the other. Their decisions. Your decision to punch someone in the crowd. It's your decision to do that.
Something serious has happened with the rugby league crowd over time. There is no self-censorship anymore.
It's been bubbling.
So, but when I first went to the game as a third generation watcher, I wouldn't have behaved in front of a grandfather and a father with anything other than the expectation of a clip round the ear. There is no self-censorship in the rugby league crowd anymore. The world has moved.
Well, that's not just rugby league, though, is it?
But if you've promoted yourself as the family sport, and that's not true. If the only reason we're a family sport is because families go, but the behaviour on the terraces is not geared to where you would... I had a lot of people contacting me over social media on the weekend saying, I don't take my kids to rugby league. That is really sad.
That's like saying that a teacher doesn't do their job anymore because kids' behaviour's got worse.
But you have controls, and there are...
But they are not always useful or...
But there are protocols. We don't even have the protocols.
We have the protocols in terms of the stewarding, like you say. If Catalan is that the problem, that Catalan didn't have the stewards in place.
As a sport, we don't have enough stewarding.
And what can the stewards do realistically?
Well,
it's probably on minimum wage.
No, it's active stewarding. It's not stewards that stand there and just... Because in a lot of cases, if a fight breaks out, a steward is told not to get involved there. They're not active stewards.
Well, one thing we don't want to happen in rugby league, and because if it does, then, as I say, it'll just lose it all for the support. So we don't want segregation. That is not what we are all about.
It happens.
We are where people can go on the grounds, have a drink with the away supporters and all the sort of home supporters and this sort of thing. And then if they want to go stand like do Edlin and all stand with themselves, but we want people to enjoy each other's company, enjoy the banter. What I would say for the full 80 minutes. Then we'll see you again when we come up with. But one thing we don't want is segregation. And I'll tell you what, if it comes to that, there'll be absolutely thousands going away from the greatest game of all. But this needs to be stamping out ASAP.
The fact that we have to find out why some fans who are passionate, dedicated fans feel that it's the wrong environment to take their kids. We have to find out that if people are saying alcohol is an issue, do we allow alcohol to be sold in the lead up and allow people to drink on the terraces if it's going to be an issue?
Right, I'll just read out again. From this Warrington person who's put it in the League Express. Is he
anonymous though, which you've got to be careful.
Well, it's here in black and white. I'm not saying that Warrington fans were angels, but we're not, and condone their actions in the slightest. However, there are a few that follow us that like a scrap. What's all that about? So they know,
But it's
they
not-
know who
let's
the
say
hooligans are at
it's-
Warrington.
it's-
Why do they want
It's
them
not
there?
just Warrington.
So you're putting the onus then on the fans to therefore got to take it forward to the clubs, haven't they?
Identify them.
Yeah.
And get them out, get them away from the
So
game.
if you're saying I'm not
Yeah.
taking my kids now because of X, Y, and Z, why are you not going to the club then and saying
This
you're
is the
going to
reason
lose?
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And therefore, whoever stood in seat, block, whatever, because you generally go to the same places, don't they? And then, do it that way. So then the onus is on the fans. And if you are, it's like
We all
anything.
have to take
No,
responsibility.
but if you're
absolutely.
complaining about it, are you doing anything about it? Or are you just sitting there being a keyboard warrior?
Here's Kevin saying, Phil, you're jumping on the bandwagon after one game.
No,
We've got to stop it.
this has been going on for a long,
No, so
long time.
how many games are we to this sort of thing then? How many games are we going to get into? About a dozen before we start doing
the
something.
But
Melbourne
this is
Rockets
the extreme, isn't it? But there are. I can remember going to a Challenge Cup semi-final in 1977 at Odsall, where fighting broke out between Featherstone fans and Leeds fans. This is not an isolated jump on the bandwagon incident.
No,
this
no.
is the worst that we've seen, and it was on television.
What happened to that Halifax fan at Featherstone
Exactly.
in the Premiership final there? Somebody got disabled for life and whatever. So this has just been bubbling and bubbling. Featherstone over the last month or so were fined what £10,000 for, and they had segregation at their game between Leigh fans and whatever. This is one thing we don't want in rugby league. We do not want segregation.
So the first thing you need to do is acknowledge it, that it is an issue,
Correct.
and then you need to deal with it.
Quickly.
At the moment, we've got too
Quickly.
many fans that don't even want to acknowledge it.
Well, do you know what? If they think they're so-called rugby league fans, we don't want them. We don't want you in the game. Simple as that.
When was the Cast
We
win in the
don't.
semi-final? 2014? Yeah, because when they played Leeds in the final, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
So that's 5 years ago. Wakefield is segregating now because of incidents between Wakefield and Cast fans on a Friday night game. That was a good timing. With boozing, it wasn't even televised. I think it might have been Good Friday because I was there. It's one of the 2 times I've seen punching on the terraces. And that's why the Mobile Rocket is now segregated.
well, wasn't it like-
The game has not done enough. Merely putting out a tanno announcement
Correct.
that everybody actually laughs at.
Well, David says here, is this the same Phil Kaplan who thinks it's a good idea to promote rather more than intense rivalries, say, between Wigan and Saints or the 2 Hulls? You can promote games as fixtures
course.
people want to see without wanting to go and punch people.
The game is built on rivalry.
Of course it is.
But historically, it's not built on sets of fans intimidating each other to the extent that it forms violence. And all that was reported on Saturday night was the incidents at the game.
Yeah.
Accidentally, nothing was reported on St Helens had won the League Leaders Shield that night. And bad news sells, unfortunately. So we have to face up to
Yeah,
this.
I mean, we have had a couple of tweets saying, oh, the BBC have reported on it.
Of course
Of
they
course
have.
they've got to do. We can't pretend it didn't happen, because it happened, it was on
Anybody
TV,
who
they
was a
showed it.
true rugby league fan watching those scenes come in could only have felt completely disheartened. Because so many people work so hard to try and portray this sport and get it the media space that we think it deserves. When one incident like that happens, that is going to dominate.
Do you know what? Around about, I'd say at least 10 people have said to me, whenever I've been, I was even the answer the Sunday morning, 3 people came up to me and said, "Hey, Scott, did you see that last night?" I said, "Yeah, disgraceful." And do you know what they said, Phil? They said, "Do you know what?" They said, "I had to watch it 2 or 3 times to say, hold on, this is a game of rugby league. This does not happen in rugby league. This sort of hooliganism does not. All right, you can accept a couple of fights and all this sort of thing from there, but at the end of it, you can't accept that. Nowhere near players just taking their own responsibility. That is not acceptable." But then, when people said, I said at least 3 people, even on Sunday morning and up till now, it's about, and I say, about a dozen people, and they've had to watch it 2 or 3 times to believe that it's a game of rugby league. Sorry, but this needs sorting out ASAP. Forget about your investigation. You've seen it all, and that is what I would do if I was in charge of the Rugby Football League. Simple as that.
And we know that now, I think.
Unless there's anything on social
Well,
media.
apart from, Scott's taking all their points away, so I'm trying to work out what the league table means now if Catalans and Warrington have 4 points.
Do you know what? I couldn't care less where they are in the position as well. If they were bottom, I couldn't care less. If they're the top and what have you, this needs to be dealt with very, very hard. No harsh. There's no blame game here. It's them 2 clubs, 100%. They are to blame each. It's as simple
I think
as
there
that.
is another issue here which is tangentially related, and that is both of the coaches afterwards came out and slaughtered the referee. That doesn't help. Again, they should.
And they should be fine for
I'm
that,
thinking that
But when you read it, yeah,
when
when
the
you read it,
disciplinary is announced,
Yeah.
both of those coaches should be charged for bringing the game into disrepute.
Well,
Because they saw the incidents that happened, they realised how volatile the situation was. To mention the referee at all in a press conference straight afterwards is irresponsible.
well, it needs dealing with. It needs dealing with Arsenal because
But we have to come to terms with the fact that it's something within our sport that we all need to deal with. The sport itself needs to make a statement.
of course it does.
We need to make the environment welcoming to bring everybody who is staying away at the moment back to the game. We need to enshrine our core values, which, as you quite rightly say, are we're able to stand together and appreciate what we're watching on the field and admire the players who, since time immemorial have been the people we admire more than anything. But fans don't need to take it into their own hands. The incident is on the field. It's why we go and watch and admire. We have to get back to that, and the sport needs to do something. The interesting thing will be is who does it. Is it the Super League or is it the RFA?
Well, you know what? At the end of the day,
Because this is another problem with when you've got a divided administration.
right.
It's a Super League competition, and it's the RFL
Yeah,
governing.
Yeah, but it's happening in Championship as well, isn't it? So
No.
essentially,
But they need to come together.
Yeah,
I know we made a
exactly.
joint statement, but somebody needs to decide who is handing out the sanction.
Well, it's quite simple. Common sense has to prevail. The common sense fact is, rugby league. It's all about rugby league. It's not about who's Super League. It's not about who the RFL channel, even from the Championship and League One. This is all about the greatest game of all, which is rugby league, and it's suffered heavily at the weekend, and it needs sorting out ASAP, and it needs some leadership. It needs somebody to grow some
Well,
crystals.
that's what I mean about, is it the leadership of Robert Elston or is it the leadership of Ralph Rimmer?
Do you know what? If I had the pair of them, bust their heads together and say, listen, you
Well,
two.
this is where they
listen,
need to come together.
listen, you two.
I'm not sure
this is
violence is the answer.
I'm on about like a bit of common sense, a bit of simplicity here. Listen, did you not see what happened on Saturday? This is all about rugby league. I tell you what, if this happened in Australia, they wouldn't. I'm going to swear like you did there. But they wouldn't. If anything happened like this in Australia, they wouldn't mess about.
Well,
do you know why? Because it's all about promoting the game. It's all about marketing. It's all about sponsors. It's all about TV. It's all about kids coming to play rugby.
I understand there was a bland statement on Saturday night saying we're in bed. By Monday, today, 6 o'clock when we started, there should have been another statement.
I agree with you. This all should have been behind closed or whatever. This should have been done with telephone calls, text messages, CFAX messages, whatever message you want to do with social media, right? All this should have been done over the weekend and say, right, I want you in my office, whether it's Elston, whether it's Rimmer, or the pair of them, wherever they are, I want you for the chairman, the CEO, the coach, and the captain. You're in my office, and this is what's happening.
We are issuing a statement on Monday about where we are taking this investigation.
Because you know what, we all love the greatest game of all, don't we? We all love the greatest game of all.
That's why we're frustrated.
Absolutely.
Because it's destroying a lot of what we're all trying. You're trying to do it as players and.
What I was witnessing on Saturday, it upset me. It upset me. It did. You know, and I played in an era where there was a little bit of thuggery and all this sort of a so-called softening up period. But I tell you what, in the end, we had the respect for the referee. You know what I mean?
The other thing is about the players is whatever has gone on the field, whether it be Warrington, Castellan or any game you might have been at this weekend, the one thing you can guarantee is that when the hooter goes, the players will shake each other's hands. Those that used to play with each other will put their arms around each other. Whatever misdemeanour has gone on, it's forgiven and forgotten the minute the hooter goes. Fans have got to behave the same way.
Rob says you're looking bored, Danica, so we'll try and entertain you now.
Sorry, I'm just. I feel like a little bit of a referee.
Sorry.
I like it.
Well,
There is no answer other than I think we're all frustrated by what we saw. And there needs to be a reaction.
Scotty, how many international caps have you got?
46.
Plus England.
They don't count as Great Britain.
I'm trying to get you this 50 caps thing.
I've got 46 for Great Britain and 3 for England. And one for against the rest of the world. So
Which, because you know CFAX, because there are people out there, you won't believe this, Scotty, who take old videotapes and find old CFAX pages on there.
Oh, yeah.
And your record of scoring for Great Britain against the rest of the world is on CFAX. It's on the internet. I've seen it. Yeah. So I'm going to take this page, email it to the RFL.
So I should get that. That should be classed as a cap.
Exactly.
And get a cap like they did last year or 2 years ago at the Hall of Fame. Can you believe it? I didn't get me and Mick Sullivan.
Don't get me started. I'll get as angry as you.
We've got exactly the same caps. 46 3 for England, and then somehow Mick managed to get another one. I thought, hold on, me and Mick sort of always been the joint record holders. You know, where's this come from? Oh, it was back in I think he played against France in about 1956. Well, hold on then. Right, okay, okay. By the way, I played for Great Britain against the rest of the world. Oh no, that don't count. It's not against you, Scully. Don't count. Oh, hold on, it was Great Britain against the rest of the world.
I'd give it to you.
So anyway, I got one. They got me a golden cap anyway. Yeah, but we'll try and get it.
Well, you got 40. How many international caps have you got?
7.
7. So that's 49 plus 7. 57 because we're going in
56.
We've got 56 caps now between us. How many Challenge Cup winners medals have you got, Scully?
Oh, that's a bit harsh. 3 losers. 3, I've got but the losers.
Yeah.
Congratulations on
Thanks.
on your video.
I've got 3 winners ones, but only one that I've actually earned.
Oh no,
No, you've earned. No, they're
You're
all
part of the
earned. They're
squad.
all earned.
They
No,
would have
but-
given you it if you hadn't made a contribution.
I know, but it feels a lot better when you
Oh.
played in one, doesn't it? There you go, you're injured, there you go, there's a medal for you to look at.
Well,
Can I ask a question as well? Because I think Cupbo's done a great job. And one thing I said, what I don't want the women's game to follow is the rubbish with the men's game. You know, with all the wrestling techniques. You don't have a wrestling coach, do you?
No,
Good.
no, we just have
Good.
Cuffball. And we have Ant and
Is
Dave
he an
Gibbons.
oddball?
He's in it, yeah. Do you know what? He's the most calmest, softest guy I've ever met in my life.
Mm.
You know, considering, you think you'd have a bit like... I was expecting him to be a bit Jimmy Lowe's, a bit fiery and a bit crazy. But he's a bit soft, and sometimes you're like, Cuff, I think we need a bit of a roast, and he's like, we'll just try a bit better next time. Honestly, he's...
But it works.
Yeah, just...
You should have me as assistant then, because I don't give a roast in the tooth.
Oh, don't.
So-
I'll probably spit my dummy out with you.
To be honest with you, some of the crap I've coached, I've had to do.
Well, no,
but you're working with
that's
good
what we need
players,
to It's not nice to coach quality, do you?
No, but
Imagine if you said something and people did it.
I'll let Cuffball coach you and my manager, and then when you want the roasting, I'll come with there shouting and bawling.
you're the bad cop.
And then what you do is, because I don't think people appreciate it, you'll have about 10 girls crying going, he don't like me.
Oh yeah. Well, I got
He's
that.
having a
I got that when I coached out the blood. Oh, he don't like when I go chairman. He don't like me. He's shouting at me. By the way, I must say as well, your fullback at Leeds,
Caitlin.
yeah. She was a referee at the Hunswick Warriors v UF on Saturday, and I tell you what a quality job she did, and the respect she got from everybody, not just the players but also to the supporters around the field. And so, congratulations to all the Warriors fans and the UF fans as well, because the great thing about referees is, certainly from my day, and I would imagine the day before that with Billy Thompson and these sort of guys, is when a referee does a good job, you don't notice them. And she did an absolute sensational job there on Saturday, because it was a top 4 game. Pretty physical and all this sort of thing, but she got the respect to everybody, and I'd say, I want to say, certainly to the Warriors, because it's pretty daunting coming down Hunslet. I can reassure you, the area where we come from, and everybody knows what sort of it's like, but no, she got the full respect, and she did an absolute sensational job, and hey, good luck to her. She wants to try and get into the men's game like the women have done in the NRL. I'll tell you what, she won't be far off, I would say, maybe in 5 or 6 years' time. She's got ambition.
Just to add to that, I think that was her first NCL game in the
Was
middle.
it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, she was very, very impressive. Very impressive.
She frightens you, you admitted.
Yeah. You do not want Caitlin as your fullback. If you're not getting this position in the right place, not okay. 17 years old. Her waist is the same size as one of my thighs. She runs and she steps people and you think her legs are going to snap. But she tells you what to do and you do it. There's no, I like that about her though.
Oh, she was sensational. She did a great job.
So talking about your England caps, Great Britain caps, this is the question that I was going to ask you. The squad's been announced.
Yeah.
For the Nines and the tour to Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
Great that the winner going to Papua New Guinea. I think that helps the Orchids and it raises the profile of the women's game over there in the run up to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Why aren't you in it?
Maybe I'm not good enough anymore.
Well, you know you are. I certainly from what I've seen, particularly in the Challenge Cup run, coming off the bench, you've changed the games. And I'm not saying that just because you're here.
Make me blush.
I think you'll find that it was written in the match reports that.
Thank you.
So they seem to be going for a younger age, but you can't discount experience, surely.
Well, I haven't had it said to me directly, but I think I had a phone call in a roundabout way at the beginning of last season just saying we are looking to build from a younger squad. And then there was talk about me having my experience in maybe a test and then obviously I snapped my ACL, so I was out of that regardless. And then the new coaching team and going forward, that's what they've picked, and I'm not back in. I've only been back 6 games, so maybe.
I know you're not supposed to do this, but as a woman her age, but what age are you?
I'll be 35 in September.
Well, you still got a few years in front, yeah.
Do you know what? I back myself.
League, haven't you?
I'm still one of the fittest forwards in the game.
Yeah.
But isn't that where the trauma of the ACL actually helps you? Because through all the rehab that you've done to get yourself back to the top, you've probably put 2 years on the end of your career.
Yeah, I hope so. It's the rest of the body. It does start to get a bit harder to recover. But, I'm managing it. Well, maybe I'm not. There are some really good girls coming up, and maybe I am probably picking them at the minute, but in 2 years' time, when we went to the World Cup in 2017, so 2013, we weren't too far off beating Australia and New Zealand. In that 4 years, Australia and New Zealand became professional, and the difference was unbelievable. And the level of skill. I think, skill, we probably matched them, but just general fitness, match fitness, that's where they beat us, out and out. Coming forward now, the Super League has got more professional, even though we're not professional yet, but the level that we're training at and what we're given, are we going to now match Australia and New Zealand when we come to the next World Cup, which is the aim. And so therefore, bringing these girls up and getting them into this routine, because it's hard, isn't it, to come as a... I've only been playing rugby league for 4 or 5 years, and I've had to get used to this match fitness and to get fit. That's been a hard slog, and I've got the mentality to do it. So I think, are you training now younger girls to become athletes from a younger age?
So maybe the next stage for the women, to get to that level where the Kiwis and the Aussies are, because the Aussies introduced this year the Origin, playing New South Wales. Would that maybe be the better step rather than going straight to the top against them and then match yourself against the New South Wales girls and the Queensland girls and then see what level you are with them and then ready for the next step?
That'd be, the next kind of that and that World Club Challenge would be a nice shout out, wouldn't it? I'd go for that. But yeah, I think like they do the Origin now, the Yorkshire Lancashire, based on the development squad.
But I'm on about our girls playing against their coordinators, what I mean?
Yeah, that would be the next step, but it's just...
it's finance, I guess.
That basically what it is. It's for our game generally. It's finances, investors, it's sponsors, it's money. That's
well, this is what we said because we mentioned it 2 weeks ago regarding because when you look at the other ladies' sports, when you look at football, they've just got a sponsorship of Barclays.
Yeah.
You look at the way the netball has got and all the coverage and the sponsorship they have, the vitality and all this sort of thing. You look at the cricket and all that from there. And I talk about it all the time, promoting the men's game, promoting it, marketing from there. When you see this happening in all other sports, and certainly when we watch the women's rugby league, because it's on the par, the product is on the par for what them 3 products. And you look at the rugby unions, well, they're all full time now. It bloody well frustrates me the way that the men's game is. So how do you feel about when all the other sports are thinking, hold on, we're putting our bodies on the line here, we're promoting this game as much as possible from there, why can't we not get the sponsorship?
This is where me and you might fall out, you see. Because think about the age of rugby league in general and how long, in terms of football, rugby union, rugby league, and all the other sports, and how many years it's taken them to get professional. So, women's...
No, I'm not talking about professional, I'm talking about sponsorship. I'm talking about getting the sponsorship.
I know, but in terms of that, like the coverage, we're getting there, and we're interested in more people, but who goes about getting the sponsorship and making people come?
Well, you need
who
what
is
in charge of the ladies? Who's in charge of the ladies?
It's the RFL.
It's the RFL, so they should appoint somebody then.
No, but there's a guy, Tom Brindle, and at the RFL, and he is fighting tooth and nail. So last year, I don't know if anybody saw Lewis's, a man of the match trophy for the Challenge Cup.
Was that the little plate thing?
It was the year 10 table tennis. And
well, the cup wasn't much better, was it?
Tom Brindle always I know I always come back to the fact that trophy was a joke. It was an absolute joke. And then this year, Courtney's walked away with a trophy the same size as what we got for winning the Challenge Cup last year, and our Challenge Cup is a proper trophy. It's a miniature replica. Oh, we couldn't take the lid off, we can't. Fuming. No, beside that. It's a little miniature version of the men's trophy, and going to Georgia Roach's Woman of Steel trophy was better than the Man of Steel trophy. So there is a guy who's championing this at the RFL, right, and he's doing his best. So I go back to Challenge Cup 3 years ago, playing at Heworth. Tom Brindle and Mark from the RFL had to run as ball boys. We had about 800 to 1,000 people there. They both stood there and just went, we cannot do this again. We're trying to raise a profile. The year later, we were 1,400 people at Warrington for a double header, the Challenge Shield and the Challenge Cup. We thought that was incredible. And we've got people coming. We had Gary Hetherington come with all the men's team because they'd just done their cup final run at Bolton. Support-wise, we're thinking this is brilliant. This year, So we're talking 2 years ago we're at Heworth with 2 guys from the RFL. So 2 years later being at Bolton, triple header. We've got, right, I know this might sound silly, but we've got fire cannons, we've got a guard of honour, we've got the whole winners banner stage, everything.
Yeah, so you should.
So the way we've come in 2 years and what Tom has done, as for, there's other people, not just Tom, but he is the catalyst there, to bring that game and to come bring us so far in 2 years. So if he's still fighting there, we've now been on the BBC, we've now had the publicity, we can't drop that level when it comes to the grand final now. So somebody's got to be out there and gone, actually, this is quite a good product that nobody's involved in yet. In terms of, I like watching it. Even if I've not played end of last season, I enjoyed watching it. Somebody out there's gone, this is a moneymaker somewhere, surely. But who is that to then go out and say, did you watch? Who do you want to buy into? Coral sponsored it. So Coral agreed to sponsor the women's and the men's for the Challenge Cup.
I think there's two things as well. The 2021 World Cup is massive.
Yeah.
And the fact that the women's final is being played on the same ground on the same day as the men's at Old Trafford is huge.
Yeah, which is what they did in 2017.
So the Women's Super League, does that have a like we do Betfred, does the Women's Super League have a main sponsor?
No, so by the time we started, they were still looking for a sponsor.
But what I think you'll find is that there are commercial people coming on board. They may not have been announced yet, but they are starting to see the value of being associated with it. Is the next step going part-time?
Do you know what, match fees would be nice?
Because but isn't that the step? The step up is there isn't enough money in the sport for you to. But what the NRL have done
but then
is quite clever because they've only had 4 teams and they put a lot of money into it. They've got a very competitive domestic competition over a very short space of time, which leads into state of origin.
But not everybody in their 4 teams have got. It's only the people in the Australian international setup that have got the professional contracts.
Yes, but they've decided to go small and quality. So they've concentrated some of that talent in only 4 clubs.
But then that would mean if that was the same here. So
have we done too much too soon by trying to go to 8 clubs in Super League? Because there is a
no, because there was like a trial Super League where we had like a league and then top 4 went and competed as a Super League essentially, and then the rest, whatever 6 of it was, competed as a championship. But that came a bit of a playoff halfway through the season, and it worked, and it was. But the 4 teams play each other at the same time, season in, season out. You're playing the same pool of people, again playing against your same. So when it comes to a World Cup, generally you pick from these 4 teams, give or take the odd championship person, and then you're playing at how they play. There's no competition for space. But whereas now, there's more girls getting involved. So there's 21,000 by 2021. The increase in women taking part in rugby is massive. The increase in girls taking part in rugby league is massive. Therefore, the talent pool is going to be much bigger.
Do we need a team in the south? Because there seems to be a lot of women playing in the south. Do they need let's say it's London Broncos, or call it, I don't know, South Scorpions, whatever. Do we need a London team to harness the talent that's playing down there, put their elite players into the environment where they're playing leagues?
There's definitely scope for that. I mean, there's the GB teachers, women's teachers, just been reignited, and they've just had a training session down there. So there are players down there. One of the girls that came out to Sydney with us in 2017, she lives in Bournemouth, Southampton, Brighton, bottom of the end of the world. And she had to travel up for training camps. So there is a talent pool down there, and then you go into, we're quite cleverly funding the fact we're on the 62 still, aren't we? Who funds us then going down? Is that the clubs? Whereas likes of Leeds Rhinos, they would pay for that.
The next thing is, as part of the Super League men's, should you have to look to, over a period of time, because you can't get players from nowhere, have a women's section?
But then where do you get your players from?
Well,
so
if you're going to get 21,000 by 21, should part of that process be every Super League club has to have a women's team, and with players, more fixtures as curtain raisers to the men's?
Or do we look at pool areas and,
Well, centres of excellence or whatever.
So like Warrington, they've done it, and they have, because there's girls that play at Warrington now who are going off and playing at Saints and Lee and having to travel quite a bit to play. So there's a pool there, and they're doing a great job in the Championship and trying to push for Super League now, because the club have invested in them. And like Leeds Rhinos, we don't get paid, but we feel when we go training that we have everything the men have, and things down to the first team bus, and kit and and physio
Access
stuff.
to the gym.
Yeah.
What do you
yeah.
train? Do you train at Kirksville?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. Well, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, we use the same physio facilities. You know, we've got the same ruck room, wrestle room stuff. We have our team
Don't
meetings.
mention restaurant from
Oh no, yeah.
Restaurant.
going down.
Okay, ruck room. You know,
Restaurant.
psychologist.
Do you
Yeah.
do you get an ice bath after the game? Do you jump in that cold water?
No.
You do, right? Huh? What do I get cold water for?
Not forward, Gary.
It's not nice, is it?
I work hard, me. I don't need that.
You know, he calls himself and the rest of the backs the pretty boys, don't you? I mean, I know you look at him now and you're thinking,
What went wrong?
perspective.
Hey, listen, with the
It's
forward,
beautiful.
listen, with the forward pack side at least, this is why I look like this. I'll tell you. Huh?
Hey, now apparently we're talking too much about women's rugby league. When are we going
You
to talk
can't-
about the men?
You can't
apparently?
talk to.
Well,
One of
let's
the
talk
things
about
we
the game
need
for the weekend.
one of the things we need to talk about on the women's is the sad injury to your teammate.
Yeah. My girl.
Want to know how A, she is, and B, how did you think that was handled, bearing in mind that obviously clearly there was a wait for an ambulance and all that kind of thing. There was a lot of stuff on social media, so you were there.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, yes, she scored a third. Sophie Robinson, centre, scored a third try of the match against York yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. 39th minute.
Where was it played at? Where was it at?
Wheatwood.
Wheatwood, all right. Oh, it's
Yeah,
fine,
so that's our home ground
Right,
essentially.
right.
Yeah. Really unfortunate. Something, nothing. It's just got funny tackle and has unfortunately come away with nasty injury to her leg. On the pitch, responded straight away, was dealt with as well as she could have been in terms of medical staff. Both teams now in the Super League have to have a medical representative there. Doesn't have to be a doctor, but you know, somebody that's got pitchside trauma training. Touch wood, if ever look in a women's game, that nothing much really does happen in terms of major traumas, so they are very few and far between, luckily. But yeah, she's just coming out of surgery today, actually, with herself pinned back together. But in terms of York and Leeds medical team, both worked together phenomenally well. They had they're not called St John's Ambulance anymore, it's Pulse Response or whatever they're called now. They're on site every game now, paid to be there. All parties were working fantastically well, got her as comfortable as they could, looked after her, you know, had her best interests at heart, and next thing was to call for an ambulance. Couldn't move her because there was no, I don't know, is it level of doctor to administer the stronger painkillers to move her? She couldn't be moved. Her, not going too graphic, her leg wasn't in the place it should have been, so moving her was not an option until she had severe medication to move her. So and as the two teams, maybe we're women and we've still got a soft spot, but the coaches got together and decided that the ambulance was going to take a good 20-30 minutes to come, and therefore abandoning the game was the best option to do because she was on the pitch, on the field. And respectfully, whether the spectators like it or not, both sets of players, both sets of coaches agreed that was the best thing to do. She was dealt with the best way possible, and then the paramedics arrived and she was swiftly moved and taken away to be dealt with at the hospital.
I think copious amounts of McDonald's.
Right. If anybody that knows Sophie or I've seen her on social media, the girl doesn't stop eating. She is, what? She's 8 stone back through. She looks at, I look at a burger, I've put £5 on. She can eat 5 of them and still not have anything. So the girl has been taken in. Do you know what? She didn't even want gas and air because she was too worried about what it might do to her. She hasn't ever touched anything like that. We were like, take the gas and air, girl. You're going to want it. Funny story is, she had a few puffs, thought she'd died. Came round. Offered her some much stronger pills to reset her leg in the hospital. Next thing I know, message, can I please have McDonald's? And I kid you not, I took around burgers, chips, nugget. It cost me £25 to feed her, and she ate it all.
Can I have your number? Have you reached my doll's down?
That's a woman after your own
25 quid.
No, I'm skint now. Going back down to feed her again. But yeah, all the best, Sophie, and I'm sure she'll be in the best hands.
Speedy recovery. Anyway, so let's forget about Warrington anyway from the weekend, because
forget about women then.
no. One thing to show here now, Warrington. Has anything been said about Blake Austin's injury? But anyway, if that is a major problem and he's not fit for Wembley, and he may not play for the rest of the season, well, Warrington's season's over because they cannot win. They cannot win anything without Blake Austin playing that side. So that's even more worried than what's on top of all what's happened at the weekend as well with this injury by Blake Austin.
He's having an ankle scan.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they haven't released anything today may indicate that
It's serious.
it's quite serious. Because I think if it wasn't, obviously they would have said. The other thing that, with everything that went on the field, we said that we sort of missed celebrating St Helens winning the League Leaders Shield. We haven't paid tribute to the bravery of Jack Hughes, which is absolutely astonishing.
Well,
Played for 60 minutes.
You'd be
You
careful.
you might want McDonald's when I tell you.
I know I got smack on the head, but yes.
No, 60 minutes
Different brace yourself.
with a ruptured testicle.
That's not that, is it? Hey, listen, I played with an hernia for a few months. I can reassure you that's not very nice as well. I looked at
But that kind of...
Even I cringed a little bit. And I've got no idea what that feels
Do me a
like.
favour. Gee, sort of like a hernia. Put it back in place.
I think it has to be stitched
I'm not
together
sure you can
first.
just put that back in place. It's not like an ankle coming out. Well, I don't think it is,
What do
is
you
it?
think these are for? Just have a bit of a down your speedos and you're alright, don't worry about that sort of thing. Anyway, the bigger problem is Blake Austin, don't worry about that. Never mind, can't use his testicle. I can reassure you. Don't worry about that. But also as
This
well.
is Danica's last show, so you're about to
But also as well.
Savage, this guy.
But
Watching
also again, no, we warned here with the halfback situation. They're going all over the world to try and replace him, aren't they? You know, they're even thinking maybe can Garrett Wheeler come now because they need to get a sign before
St George
Friday.
won't release.
Well, yeah, I'll be very surprised. They'd say, well, St George are not going to make the ace, so Winnett may come early. But I'd be very surprised at that. But it just tells me they don't, because Kevin Brown's not going to be anywhere near, is he? And they don't trust Patton, and they don't trust the backup, do they?
Well, Patton was caught out defending on the wing, wasn't he, when David Mead went round?
Massive problems for Warrington, both on and off the field.
Do you think they'll get caught?
Who?
Because at Warrington they've got St Helens and Wigan next, and then Wembley,
Oh, right out.
and your 4-point deduction as well.
They'll still, hey, you're right, laughing and joking at that. Hey, listen.
That might be one of the sanctions that we should consider.
Well, listen, if I was in charge of this game, you know what? You know what was missing from the game of Rugby League on Saturday with all what happened? Simple word,
Spokesperson.
respect. Respect for the greatest game of all. That is what was missing on Saturday from everybody. And when I've read the COSWAP, even from the people from the RFL and the Super League, we're going to make sure, we come hard on this. Tell people then what you're going to be doing. Tell us now. Tell us now what's going to be happening and how severe you're going to be.
We need a statement from somebody.
We need action. That's what we need.
Something I'm questioning if we did biology at school, Scully, but we're in the plasticine class for that one as well.
Listen, I can't spell biology, so what is it?
Oh, wow. And people ask me why, I play rugby league. They question my intelligence, and now I realise why. Shoot for it. You might be alright at the game, but
I had intelligence on the rugby league field. That's all I needed.
Vision and awareness.
see, I don't. I just catch and run.
Well, that's
My job, isn't it?
You wouldn't mind playing
Don't
behind a
take
back
you up.
line.
that's what front row should be doing. The hard yards.
No, you
The
don't
hard
get worried.
yards. The hard yards.
I'm not a glory player.
That's what the in my terms, that's what the donkeys should be doing. Do you know what I mean? That's what the forwards
It's
do.
a bit too close to me, Garrett.
That's what the forwards should be doing. Leave the pretty.
We don't
ones and
condone
stuff.
violence, but in this case we might make an exception.
I reckon there'd be a lot of people wanting to see this. Backhand.
No.
Phil,
I couldn't do it.
I mean, Phil's favourite player of all time now is your teammate Danielle Anderson.
She's ridiculous, isn't she?
These tiny people bashing people.
She's not tiny, but she just plays above her weight. She plays in a manner in which you look at her and you think she can't do the things
Who's
that
this?
she does.
A girl on my team.
All right. Okay.
And the way she set up the try that won the cup final just epitomised everything about it.
Do you know we watched that back a few times in review? Just
Was she trying to pass
Well,
before
do you know what,
early
I
and
think
then
she's been told by Cuthbert just to watch the offload and not do it as much. So I think she had a thought about it, didn't she? Kept it and then passed it at the right time. The one time he would have, if it's one of them plays, isn't it? If it had come off, everyone loves it. If it should have dropped it or not, it should have been the biggest idiot on the day, wasn't she? So it's one of them. But yeah, do you know what's also weird about Danielle Anderson? She's like the quietest person in the world. You don't know when she's angry. You don't know when she's sad. You don't know when she's happy. She just rocks up, does a job, leaves again.
and she can play. That John Holmes did that.
Yeah.
Safe to say of the 4 people on this panel today, there's only one that's getting positive comments on social media. Makes a change from the usual perfect radio faces. Cheers, Andy. Very nice, isn't it?
It's right.
Sam says, any positive stories this week? No, plenty of them. I think we got rid of all the rubbish ones, haven't we?
I think
Everything else is positive. Yeah?
Toronto's taking almost 200 fans to Bradford was a positive.
George Flanagan less so.
I tell you what as well, fellas. One of the we all
You
know
won't know what a squirrel.
we all know the best kept secret in Super League doing that. Justin Holbrook was leaving St Helens. Oh boy, oh boy.
Has he got a job to do?
Justin, what the hell are you doing? And I watched the NRL this weekend, and it was just at half time of the St George Parramatta game, and Matthew Johns comes on from there, and he just said, well, listen, you know, we're going to talk about the Titans, and he just went, Justin Holbrook, what have you done? Do you know what you've done? Do you know what you let yourself in for? And I said in my column today, you know, he's going from the penthouse to the basement, and I find it strange. I do, honestly. I just find it strange because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how long you go back in any sport. You know, it's players who make coaches. Coaches don't make players, and how he can turn that lot around. And all he's going to do, he's going to ruin his reputation because the first gig what you get in the NFL, he could be sacked. He could be sacked easily within 6 or 7 months. And he's not going to get another gig. And Mike Rush said a couple of weeks ago, you know, the living the dream for Justin is quite simple. He's living the dream here. So if he cleans up this year, and then the ambition would have been then to try and retain the 3 trophies, and then go get another bigger job because there'll be a couple getting sacked. Paul McGregor at St George, Warren, you know, he's on the brink, isn't he? You know what I mean? Dean Payne at the Bulldogs, you know. So if they don't get it this year, they're certainly going to get it next year. You know, so I find it very strange why he's going to that load of rubbish over there because they are garbage.
Because he can only take them one way.
Can I just say, on a non-rugby point of view, St Helens or Gold Coast?
Someone else has made that point as well.
To live. Just to live.
Oh, hold on. To live, yeah, of course I'd go live at the Gold Coast, but he's not just living there, he's got a coach.
Yeah, but also, what about if
he won't be living much on the Gold Coast when he gets the sack.
What about if he just backs himself as being a good coach and he wants to turn it around? What if he absolutely backs himself as, I can do my job and I can do it very well?
Right. Yeah, he's a great coach, but if you haven't got the players, you can't turn it around.
No, but he's not talking about the players. He's backing himself.
Got the players,
he will get the players because he's got some there that are underperforming, but because every team spends the salary cap, he will go out and get some players. They won't finish bottom next year.
I bet you they do.
Ooh,
I bet you they do.
They will not.
I bet you they do. I bet you they do. I bet you a cake. I bet you a cake because you can't encourage you. I bet you a cake. They'll finish rock bottom
I bet
next
you
year.
25 quid of McDonald's.
That'll do. They will finish rock bottom next season because it's not the coach who's doing it, it's the players, and they've got the
So
quality
do you not
of players.
back him as a coach then?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, back him as a coach. But
What happens then if he can just come in and all he needs to do is actually coach the players that you don't think are that great, and he just says you need to do tweak, little 1%ers to each of his little players, and that's the job as a coach.
Right.
Is to look at your
Well,
1%ers.
to be honest with you, I do know what a coach's job is, to be honest with you. But
I mean,
also as well.
Why would you why then?
Right.
He knows what it is.
But also as well, I know I have played under coaches where, but to tweak them, it's going to need more than 1, 2, 5%. It's going to need 25, 30% to get them anywhere near where they want to get.
No. They're not
So-
going to win the competition.
Yeah, we're not talking about
It'll get them nearer to making the 8.
any position higher than where they finish the season is better.
Well, I'm saying they're going to finish
And
bottom.
they've given him a 5-year plan.
Well, anybody can say a 5-year plan, can't they?
But I think
Listen, I had a 3-year plan. Huddersfield lasted 13 games. I had a 2-year contract at Bar, lasted 5. What sort of these plans don't make give?
You
need
just
a
know.
toss.
You just
Don't
know.
make a toss. Yeah, they don't mean a gnat.
Yeah, but 1% of one player over how many months are we looking? How many games?
26.
Yeah, so 26%.
Well,
26% per player.
Ash
If that
Taylor
1% gets better.
is the classic example. Ash Taylor on his day is the potential to be one of the best halfbacks in the NRL.
All right, okay. Well, playing with Tyler Roberts.
No. Ash Taylor has that.
No, we're playing it with Tyler Roberts.
So-
We'll do a good job, won't it? But anyway. It's gone from the penthouse to the because that's what Mal really said when
But
Mal
that's-
came from Newcastle.
but
And he went to Huddersfield. I've come from the penthouse to the basement, and that's exactly
Then
what
do you
Tyler
think
Roberts
as well,
But
though,
the
he
first job
can't.
that you'd want would be in the basement because you can
Yeah.
only go up.
He's going to go if he gets all 3 this season. But let's be fair, it's looking likely, especially now with Warrington.
I predicted it, so it will happen.
You predicted the year before.
Of course,
you
he
didn't.
predicted it. Like,
Saints will do the treble TalkSport 2 2018.
So-
After
Well,
one-
the-
the
after 1
pressure,
week.
the pressure of coming back next season to redo like once you've hit all 3. As a coach, I've never coached, so I wouldn't know. Probably won't want to have a coach. You've hit all 3. You've done the best you can do in the Super League. Who wants that job now of taking that team on next season? I'd be like, see, I'm going to go work with the worst in the NRL because things can only get better.
I'd take it on and I'd just say to him, hey, listen, I'll just keep doing what you've been doing. Go out there, enjoy yourself and express yourself. Off you go. I'd take the job on, without a doubt.
You know we've done
I'd
it.
love it. I'd love the
So what are you
pressure.
saying not taking the job then for?
Brian's here, by the way, with it.
Sorry?
Brian's here with it.
80 grand a year.
Although it might be Gadwin this week.
80 grand a year.
We've done that classic thing to see what we've done today. You ever heard of Jack Doherty?
Yeah.
Scottish comedian, used to host a chat show on Channel 5. Went on holiday, and his replacement was Graham Norton, who was a little known comedian at the time.
Never
But because
heard
he
of
was so good at his programme,
Right.
he ended up taking over. We bring in new person, everyone saying, "Oh, she's great. You know what a rubbish, get rid of you."
Brilliant.
So now we've
So
done
you
it
got your own show
every week.
next Monday.
Do you know what? I don't actually know that much about rugby league.
That's all right. We don't.
Clearly neither do we.
I just catch and run. And sometimes watch a bit.
Now you see, I was going to promise
they're
cakes
athletes,
and biscuits. I'm glad they've turned up. So otherwise they'll be in trouble.
I'm an athlete.
So Scully.
See how
I'm a
quick-
prop. Do you know
see
what I mean?
how
I'm a
quick
prop
he was
first.
in there?
I'm a prop out and out prop out.
In terms of what you saw from Warrington at Catalan, do you think that the Dragons got under their skin, or is there a weakness in the Warrington pack, do you think? I thought I'd wait until you stuff a
And their
complete
caramels as well.
digestive in you.
And the
Well, the
caramels,
caramels
that's
are-
going to take him a while as well.
People listen for the results in the Women's Super League, so I'll do that bit now.
What, while he...
Yeah, while he's eating. Cass beat Bradford 50 points to 16, so Cass are back. And
Can I
Bradford,
say on that one?
no, yeah.
Bradford had didn't have a full strength. So for
And that play
Bradford to
sent
put
off.
Bradford to put points past Cass as an improvement, we're not having a full strength squad as well. So well done, Bradford.
Wakefield also got better because I commentated when they lost to St Helens 66-0 at Bellevue, the Mobile Rocket, and they lost 60-0 yesterday, so that's an improvement. You can still apply for the coach's job there, by the way, at Wakefield, so get your CVs in.
Here you are.
There you go.
Yeah, well, 1%ers, good young
If you're going
squad,
to take a team, take
My,
Wakefield and go up.
My son works there, so not a chance.
and they train on Monday.
My son's general manager, so not a chance.
And the result of the weekend, now how this didn't get team of the week in League Express, I don't know. But then again, tweet of, have you seen this? Listen, you remember last week? Tweet of the week was Martin Sadler in his own newspaper. This week, Aaron Bauer in his own newspaper. Shenanigans. Result of the weekend though, Featherstone Rovers 18, Wigan 16, the defending champions, beaten by Fev at the LD Nutrition Stadium or Post Office Road in Old Money, which certainly shakes things up in the middle of the table.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Top.
Do you know what? Featherstone are a little underrated, I think. They've got probably 5 or 6 really stand-up players, so maybe it's just they've started to gel now. But Wigan haven't had the results we've been expecting for a few weeks now, so...
They had a change of coaching staff as well at
They
the
have,
start
yeah.
of the season, didn't they, which seemed to affect
A
them.
couple of weeks into it, wasn't even the start, it was you know, a bit of a secret house than we've seen.
Mhm.
But God forbid we'd report on the women's rugby on that, wouldn't we?
We would.
Oh, you
Well,
would.
we try. Well, no, well,
You guys might
we
do.
tried to.
Yeah, I do
I
appreciate
don't
that.
think people. I don't know if everyone likes it or not when we.
I don't think, do you know what?
Pregnant.
I think people like the idea of the women's game, but only in small little doses. So they're probably going to hate this, but... Sorry guys.
Just carry on with this.
So
program.
now you finished your biscuit.
Hmm.
Warrington's pack. Do you think Catalan showed all their weaknesses, or did they just allow themselves to be intimidated?
Yeah, they got sucked in the bit intimidation there, didn't they? But overall, the Catalans deserved the win. You know, they deserved. They were the better side. Obviously, losing Blake Austin didn't help Warrington won a little bit, but you know, the Catalans at times just showed what a quality side they are when they want to decide to play rugby league. And yeah, they scored some very smart tries, and the spine of the side, you know, in Tompkins and Guijo and
I know what you're going to say.
Lange.
There was a man who wasn't playing, and they always seem to play better when he's not there.
Well, the great thing for it on Friday is that he'll be playing on Friday night, Mike Smith won't he? So we've no chance of losing. No chance of losing if he's playing. No chance of losing.
Leeds by 20.
Definitely Leeds by 20. But no, Catalans deserved. They deserve the 2 points. There's no two ways about that.
The five's interesting because Salford's win at London was impressive. Thought that might have been a banana skin because not too many teams go well down in the capital. Castleford lost.
Yes, I was there.
And you're going to tell us that again that's a game that perhaps they've not found a way to win rather than...
Well, do you know what, Phil? It was a very it was a strange game for about the 80 minutes because Hull KR set off sensational. 12 up, playing smart, attractive rugby, getting ripped in defensive wise, forcing Castleford into mistakes. For 15 minutes, they were brilliant, and then big loss in the soil from the kick-off. I think it was on the third tackle. Coughed the ball up, good field position for Cass. And Cass then just went bang, bang, bang. 2 tries, penalty try conceded, and then goes in lead at half-time. I think it was 20 points to 14. And then in the second half, he wanted a quick start. Did Smith? He got one, and then Fulkear for some reason just threw out a speculator. James Clare picked it up, gave it to Lionel Blair. He went 60 yards, scored at the side of the post. Castleford were cruising, absolute cruising, and then OKR, for some reason, found a bit of purpose. Went bang, bang, bang themselves. 2 quality tries from Ben Crooks. 3 drop goal attempts from OKR. 1 from Drinkwater, 2 from Maguire, which pretty hopeless to be honest with you. But then Cass, Matautia, we walked 35-40 seconds ago, missed a kick, which he couldn't really fault from a point of view where it's a bit windy. But then also as well, Castleford, they've got to be the worst side ever to be setting up for a field goal. And we can remember the one at Leeds, can't we, with Matt Shane, but this was even more easier. Truman was in the field position for the drop goal, literally 20 yards where nobody could get to him, and Matautia just did like a Matt Shane. He saw the runner come out there, he was going to go from there, and just went for the try. Messed it up totally. 26 apiece, and then the golden point, and as champion players do, and Maguire did it. Sensational 40-20 on the last tackle. And myself and the gentleman who I was, Steve Saddington, who, by the way, I was over there doing the Man of Steel points, but I was...
Don't tell us.
No, I won't tell you. Steve Saddington, his company, SCS Flooring, who sponsored the hospitality suite, I was his guest yesterday, and just literally from the 40-20, 10 yards out, and just said, just go for it now, Danny. And that's exactly what he did, and that's what champion players do. But it was great to hear Tony Smith after the game, and I said it about Leeds, which I'm sure we'll talk about Leeds and Huddersfield, and I said it about Leeds last week, but Tony Smith said it in his speech to the sponsors yesterday, was he spoke to his senior players and he wanted to be responsible for the senior players. He felt as though the senior players were letting the inexperienced players down, and in that second half the senior players stood up, not just Maguire, not just Drinkwater, Ben Crook stepped up a bit, lost on the side where, and Tompkins, and then also to Welleraki. The experienced players got them through that second half and got them the deadly 2 points, what they needed. But you mentioned Cass, just that Simon Wolf and Cedric Huddersfield, they don't know how to win games. So at this moment in time, Casper don't know how to show up again. They don't. And Darryl Powell, he would have been absolutely fuming. They were coasting, easily coasting, and they get beat.
So we know that obviously Saints, Warrington are in the playoffs. Warrington might not finish second, but they'll be in the playoffs. We think that Wigan are the team to watch on the rails. Hull still inconsistent, although gave it a really good dig considering they played in the Challenge Cup semi-final 5 days before. Who between Catalan, Salford and Castleford is in line to get that 5th spot?
Well, I tell you what, it's too hard to call for.
It's an inconsistent.
Yeah, it's too hard to call, mate. But I tell you what, you mentioned, and I say with the whole Wigan game from there, and Hull at this moment in time, they're in trouble. They've got the balance, and until they sort the Jake Connell situation out, they're in trouble. Because how could Jake? You would say he's the best player on paper, wouldn't you? For what he can do, for what he can bring, and so. Hey, listen, I'm not telling you how to do his job, but the fact of the matter is, you've got your best player. He's sulking. There's no two ways about that. And what anybody says, he's sulking. You can see that, and he's
right because he's on the bench.
Well, of course it is. But you've got your best. So yeah, but is it fair to con away from a point? Unless we don't know anything. He might have been doing something disciplined or this sort of thing. We don't know. We're not there day in and day out, are we? So, but to have Jake Connor, you have him on the bench. Then you bring him on after 30 minutes in the centre where he don't want to play. And then after 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, you put him at stand-off to try and come up with a champion player to get yourself back in the game. Is that fair on him? I don't really think so. But you can tell with Jake, he's not happy and he's sulking with the 3 roles. He's having to play, i.e. a sub, which he don't want to be, i.e. a centre, which he don't want to be, and then i.e. as a stand-off, but he don't want to be that. We just with 30 minutes to go with all the pressure on top of him. So they hold this moment in time until they get that balance sorted out with their spine. They'll make the 5, I would say. They will make the 5, but it's not going to be easy. But for Wigan, boy oh boy, what a future they've got with them three lads in Parkinson, Burns,
Smithies.
and Smithies.
I like Smithies.
I tell you what, well that Partington as well. I tell you, don't they like getting ripped in? And they are going to be the backbone of that Wigan side.
The big news for them today is that Thomas Oakwise signed for another year.
Right. But them three players.
But Sean O'Loughlin, the best he can hope for is to play maybe in the grand final.
Yeah, pectoral. Well, if he's because I've ripped my pectoral once, and I was out for 3 months. Well, I didn't need surgery on mine, but I was out for 3 months. I've still got the hole in mine here and what have you. But if he's, you know, he may play, he may not do. We know what.
Medicine's improved a little bit since your time.
You're right. A bit of ice and 10 pints. That's what it was in my day. But
magic sponge.
But from Wigan's point of view, them three players, I tell you what, are they going to be the backbone of that side for many, many years? And they're not bothered about reputations. I was so impressed by them.
They're going to win the grand final.
Hey, we've had that, Richie. There's no two ways about it.
Do you think we've seen the end of Sean O'Loughlin? Because again, he's not contracted yet for next year. It would be sad if he went out with this injury.
Yeah,
but you just wonder if all the recruitment we're going to do and the re-sign of these young players, but it's like the one guy who's going to miss out under the salary cap.
It's like when you read two of the players today, Dan Maguire and Benny Westwood. You know, the body can't do it no more. And as much as what they love to, you know, the head saying, well, I can't, you know, Dan Maguire saying, well, for 4 days I can't move. I'm like, so he's 37. You know, Benny, you know, he's been an absolute warrior. You know, he's been an absolute brilliant, you know, legend for the club Warrington since he went over there from Wakefield.
At the moment, aren't they?
You would say
or
so.
Somebody like
yeah, because now coming off the bench, he made that impact. And again, it's like O'Loughlin's a warrior, isn't he? You know, he puts a marker down, and you know, an opposition know when Benny Westwood's on. They know exactly what they're going to get. Well, Gareth at this moment in time, he's not having that impact like he did when he first came back, has he? You know, so.
Which again goes back to what you were saying about the body struggling. You know, he had 40 stitches in his face, but he's still playing on.
But for me, for Lockers, he has been a great. He will go down as a Wigan great, and that warrior tag what he has from there. So, yeah, for me, if I was him, I would certainly call it Malacia, because you don't get the order and injuries will crop up, and it won't be just the niggles. It will be serious injuries, as it's got now.
It's not training during the week, isn't it? That's the problem.
But one thing for sure, they have got brilliant replacements in them three players I've just mentioned. They are absolutely sensational. And I tell you what, have they got any respect for the body?
The one that surprised me,
because
we've seen what Partington can do. We've certainly seen what Smithies can do. He's had a long run of games, and he looks a bit like a young O'Loughlin. But I was impressed with Burton.
Oh, absolutely. Burton, I would say. Oh, sensational. Absolutely. And, you know, it's obviously they're bringing Burgess in there, and this kid who was from Australia, this French, I'm not saying how much of him.
French is a try scorer.
But no, you can't. You won't rule Wigan out. And I say they'll make the 5. There's no doubt about that. Will they make the grand final? Don't rule them out making the grand final as well, and don't rule them out. Don't rule them out retaining the trophy. Don't rule them out retaining the trophy.
But you've given Saints the trophy.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I said don't rule them out. You know what I mean? Saints are doing the treble, but don't rule Wigan out. But we'll be for sure. Warrington can't win anything without Blake Austin.
Well,
cannot win anything.
If they lose their next two games, which is Saints and Wigan, they could be going into Wembley struggling to retain their top 2 spot.
Their form is the second worst in Super League, only behind Wakefield.
But, is that Warrington's?
Yeah, lost the last 3.
So Warrington got Saints this week. Who have they got before the Challenge Cup? Do we know? Wigan. And then after the Challenge Cup, they come to us, Leeds.
2 weeks.
Really? Is it 2 weeks after, is it? Right, okay. So they've got big problems. Yeah, they have both on and off the field from their end. And I say, when you look, the Catalans, they from there, but Salford, again, you talk about inconsistencies.
Because you've got us in trouble against Screw with the Salford fans on Twitter. I never backed Salford.
And that's why you got us in trouble.
Because you had all these Salford fans saying, they've tipped against.
I've got to be nice to them.
All the rest of us, we all tipped Salford. We say Salford. I don't know. Before the Challenge Cup final, Danica, only Scully tipped Leeds. Only Scully tipped Leeds to win.
When? Last week?
No, before the Challenge Cup final.
The Women's Challenge.
You remember? You tipped Leeds. You just said Leeds. Leeds will win. Can't go against Leeds.
To be who?
Castle. It's only 2 weeks ago.
Did I?
You should have said that with confidence. Yeah, I did.
I'm saying you got something right.
Hold on. Who's on top in our predictions?
You probably.
Me, exactly. Me. So I got 4 out of 6 this week.
To be honest, that doesn't mean anything if you've got
I got 4 out of 6 this week.
So in terms of the bottom of the table, you saw Hull KR come up with a a win that shows great tenacity and spirit.
They showed what OKR showed great character. They showed
So on the
great
back
character.
of the fact that they showed great character and won, Leeds played a bit more to the potential of the squad that they've got and won well. Wakefield and Huddersfield.
Well, let's talk about Leeds first. So when you talk about potential, Phil, it's not potential. The big game players, the senior players turned up on Friday. When we said that on the Saturday, we said it on Monday night show. If Leeds are going to win, the big game players and the experience needed to turn up. And instead of Jack Walker and Newman and Ash Hanley getting all the headlines, I wanted to see Conrad Hill to be consistent. That's his best performance all season because he wasn't making silly mistakes. Trent Menon would be like Cuthbert. I think Cuthbert's been his best player all season, even though coming off the bench.
Well, he's been the best player
Dwyer,
in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Dwyer was good. Singleton when he came on. So on Friday night, the Leeds experienced players, quality players, they turned up. He was all right. He was average. He was average. But
That's positive.
But the big game, you know, the big play, they turned up. But to be honest with you, though, they didn't have to play.
Well,
they didn't have to play sensational.
They did in the first 20 minutes. Yeah, the defence won them that game.
The first 20 minutes.
The defence on their own line.
Right then. Them halfbacks at Huddersfield, absolute garbage.
Let me ask you a question about
selection. Well, let me just, you will do in a minute, but let me just say this. The creativity from the halfbacks from the Giants was absolutely garbage. Clueless and pathetic. And even he said it as well, Sam Woolford from there. So it wasn't really a lot of questions being asked because they were absolute clueless. The halfbacks, and let me just say this, Frawley and Gaskell, that is the worst halfback combination performance I have seen for years. There was nothing coming from anybody. So you mentioned team selection from there. First of all, Frawley should be like Matty Smith. Frawley should never ever play for Huddersfield again. He's been absolutely nothing. And why is he being selected? I'll tell you why he's been selected. Because he's played some NRL games. Tom Holmes has been brilliant since he played from there. Huddersfield won 2 games when he's playing with Gaskell. Gaskell was absolutely delighted when he's got somebody at the side of him who wants to play a supporting role. And then Gaskell wants to be the main man. That's what a halfback partnership's all about. It's all about balance. And also too, Oliver Russell's far better than that Frawley. So Simon Woolford needs to take a long hard look at himself on his selection and why he's picking Frawley.
There were 2 things that I couldn't understand when we got the team on Friday night. One is Holmes has played well since he came in.
He played sensational.
But if he decided that he wanted to withdraw him for whatever reason, as you say, we don't know what goes on during the week, and maybe he picked out some.
So he's playing well. Why drop him?
But he brought Oliver Russell into the squad. Why would you not play him ahead of Frawley?
I agree.
The other thing was he started with Cruz leaving and had Adam O'Brien on the bench.
Very strange.
And the problem that again is that, with the greatest respect to Adam O'Brien, he's not. Leeds got that the right way around. Start with Sean Hunt and bringing Brad Dwyer off the bench. The hooker you bring off the bench,
you've got to make an impact. Got to make an impression.
Has to be dynamic.
Absolutely.
Scotty, I've got some good news for you.
Yeah.
Those biscuits won't come to yours because Danica's got to go.
I've got a bail on you, haven't I?
It's all right. It's my fault.
You need to get McDonald's, don't you?
Maybe not tonight, but
You want to see your patient?
yeah, she's out of surgery.
Well, give her
She's
all
out now.
our
I will do.
best.
Hey,
Fed
thank
at
you,
home on
everyone.
Sunday.
Give it our best.
Fed at home on Sunday at Wheatwood. Yeah.
Get it
Just
done.
pop down.
When is it?
Sunday. Probably about 1 PM. Wheatwood.
Where's it at? Wheatwood. Right, okay.
Yeah.
We'll get down for the Cass game in a couple of weeks because we're all looking forward to it.
Right,
Oh
okay.
yeah, Castle Head in Lane 2 weeks.
All right then. Right. What date's that?
Saturday the 17th.
Of August. All right.
Be 2 weeks. So.
Right, I'll stick that in the diary. Right, okay. Oh, I can look at fixtures on CFAX.
Yeah, don't you worry about it,
I can say that on CFAX. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. 17th, we'll make it a date. All right.
Oh,
Right, off you go.
what an offer! On
Off
that
you go.
note,
On that note, yeah.
it's been emotional. Thank you for coming. Well, thank you.
On that note, we've got a date on the 17th. See you later.
This programme's going down.
Yeah. So going back from
All
there,
people are tuning off now.
with the team selection.
So I just thought that was really odd. That the one thing that Simon Woolford didn't say afterwards was, and he was obviously in a trough of despair, why he chose to start with those combinations. Because I think by half time, the game had gone, and there wasn't a lot he could do to change it.
Also, what I found strange as well, because obviously the cameras are in the cameras are in dressing rooms at half time.
That was interesting, wasn't it?
And Robinson was doing the team talk, and it was Robinson who was giving the roasting out and whatever. So I found that quite strange as well, to be honest with you. I did, you know, and but when I look at the report here and what Wilford said about it, do you know as well? Do you know what I hate when a coach apologises for the performance? You know,
Which he did.
Yeah,
Apologised to everybody.
yeah. And he put in, you know, when he said, you know, they have plenty to play tonight, and it was embarrassing tonight and unacceptable. They scored 4 out of easy try, which they did. There was absolutely paper thin, but you know, I just don't get it when, you know, coaches apologise to sponsors, supporters, and whatever. You know, I've been on the back end of you know, some talents as well, but I don't think it was a lack of effort, we were just being by the far better side. You know, we know that Wigan side in them days, they did it to everybody, Phil, didn't they? But that Huddersfield side on Friday night,
I mean, that looked
it
like...
just tells me it's not a happy camp.
Well, that looked
Not
like
a
the
happy
same
camp.
Huddersfield that went to Wakefield.
I'll tell you why I say don't look at happy camp, because of team selection. Them players have been thinking, why is Frawley, you know, like I said about Catalans with Matty Smith, why is Matty Smith, the players have been saying, why is he being picked? And now the Huddersfield Giant players have been saying exactly the same. Why is he picking Frawley when he's not good enough to play for us? Why is Tom Holmes not, why is he being dropped? Or if it's so, why isn't Oliver Russell playing? Because he's far better than him.
In fairness, Matt Frawley got 5 out of 10 in the paper, and Tom Briscoe, whose leg fell off, got 4.
Even though we scored a try.
Who were doing points for Frawley? His mum and dad? His granddad?
It's a bit harsh on Briscoe, that, isn't it? It's going to be 4. I mean, come on. I know these 10 out of 10 things.
But that Frawley should be sent home now. Should be sent home. We'll wait to get back because he's not good
They're
enough.
supposed to be looking at Aidan Caesar of Canberra. Presumably that would be instead of Frawley.
Yeah, well, that just tells you that, doesn't it? But plus as well, obviously they don't trust. But also again, what makes me, what again, it amazes me. It always seems to be where young halfbacks get the blame, don't they? Young halfbacks get the blame and get dropped. You know, and when they do play half decent, they don't get a consistent run because they don't trust them.
But I again, you know, do you think Huddersfield have enough to get away with finishing?
Have you seen their running?
It's not easy, is it?
It's not easy.
But then which is worse, theirs or Wakefield's?
Well, both of them.
Because there are some teams that will play with confidence, and you can look at them and go, well, Hull KR have got enough to get away with this. If they can come
Hull
back...
KR have 2 home games, which they've hopefully, they think, yeah, the Bankers, Wakefield away they're playing, and London. So, because Hull KR got Wigan this week, which we know what Wigan did to them around about 3 or 4 weeks ago, don't we? And then they go to Catalans. So, you know, you say maybe, you know, they're going to get it. But Hull KR, with the way Wakefield are playing, and London, yeah, Hull KR for me will be safe. Huddersfield, certainly after that performance, they got Salford this week, so Salford have been waiting for them. What they did, they embarrassed them the other week. Ian Watson will be making sure that doesn't happen again. So, yeah, Leeds will be all right. They've got 4 of the home games there, so Leeds will be all right. So I'll tell you, it's good. Yeah, London are in the mix, but you can't rule out Wakefield and Huddersfield.
The thing about London is we've said all the way along that they've already overachieved, and that they don't and probably can't win every game they play.
Yeah.
But they know that their last 3 games, Hull KR, Leeds and Wakefield, if they could pick up 2 wins out of 3, would they be safe? Because we've said 20 points might be enough. I think it might be 22 now, the way things are going.
The question is, can London win?
Can London win 2 or 3 games?
There's 4 games left, so can London win 2 out of the 4?
There's 5 games left.
5 games left, all right. So can they win 2 out of the 5? Maybe. The question is now, can Wakefield, with their fixture list, and Huddersfield, can they win 2 out of the 5? I don't think they can. I don't think Wakefield.
Our resident Wakefield correspondent, who are hoping to pick up James Green from Hull this week.
Are we? I'm still hoping we just win 1 game. I think we just need to win 1 game.
You think 20 is still the...
I think it looks that way. And if that's the last game of the season, it's the last game of the season, isn't it?
You wouldn't want to be going into that last game of the season having lost.
No, but we've been in that position in how many seasons in the past? However many we were in Super League? 2001, in 2002, in 2006 was the original £1 million game.
So before London come to Wakefield, Wakefield have got Hull at home, haven't they? Who else have they got?
Hull this week. Hull KR coming up. Is that after the cup final? I think.
Yeah, that's at Hull KR.
Wigan again.
Right, and then.
So I think it's 1 more. I can't think it would be. Distracted by someone's chainsaw.
So really, then it could be where they're just waiting for the London game, aren't they? Last game.
But that is a very, very dangerous.
Without a doubt.
You would hope they would pick up the points in the Hull KR game.
Hull KR?
Bellevue, I think.
No, it's Hull KR. It's Hull KR. Hull KR have got 2 home games. They've got Wakefield and they've got London left in those 5 games.
Hull KR is as inconsistent as everyone else, aren't they?
The trouble is, Wakefield are consistent at the moment.
Well, yeah, consistently rubbish.
Well, say that. But Chris Chester was quite pleased with the second half against St Helens. 6-all. But if a
But
game's
again,
gone, a game's gone.
Nigel Wood hasn't put in the thing in Saints this season so many times, and they did against Leeds, put the key on the rack because they know they can do.
I say, Phil, I don't find that as well from a coach. We Zook second half. What does that send out? What does that send out?
If you've got to take consolation wherever you can get it, then
No, the game's for 80 minutes, not 40 minutes or 30 minutes.
Sunny and sultry was it?
Was
The TWS. Kalepi Tanganoa, who has been a good signing this season, he's got his first ever first grade try.
we should have asked Danica about a try scoring prowess.
Yeah, lots of people. I'm sure we'll have a back. People enjoyed it, I think. One of our better guests. People were getting very depressed on Wakefield Trinity social media after the game on Friday, and I do wonder, did they expect Wakefield to go and beat St Helens? Because I didn't.
What with the emotion of Saints having got to the Challenge Cup final and the announcement that Justin Holden
Hold on.
Potentially winning the league leadership.
Hold on, why shouldn't they have gone to St Helens and win? They've just been rejuvenated, refreshed, been on 6 days holidays. Why shouldn't they come back refreshed and ready to get ripped into St Helens? Why shouldn't they?
Because Saints are top of the league and they'd won 20 games of 23 before Friday, and Wakefield were not.
One of the things that surprised me about that game was the attendance figure. And I know we're absolutely obsessed with crowd figures in rugby league, but surely St Helens, who were on the verge of picking up the league leader shield, who had just qualified for Wembley for the first time for 11 years, who would want to show to Justin Holbrook how much he means to them, that even if you assume that there were a couple of hundred Wakefield fans there, 9,000 St Helens fans? They can't do a lot more on the field. They've been wonderful to watch this year.
Phil, to be honest with you, they'll be saving it for Wembley.
They
It's
could be.
expensive.
Yeah.
But it's a home game.
Yeah, but Wembley in a couple of weeks they'll be saving it, won't they?
Steve Norton, his God has been on, and says,
Steve
you
Norton
mean,
was gone.
you mean Chris Green, not James Green.
There shouldn't be a James Green then if there's a Chris Green.
Good old Salford then, winning by 30 points away at London. Again,
Yeah,
Were you surprised with the
Jackson
margin of that?
Hastings, night levels with more
very,
tries.
very, very surprised. But also as well, it's very interesting, isn't it? And well, we
Lola here.
absolutely
Yeah,
we
he's good.
we couldn't get a tune out of him at Leeds, could we? But now Watson, he's certainly
Next St Helens coach Ian Watson.
Next St Helens coach Jason Dimitri.
he's
Don't start.
well, Watson's certainly got a tune out of Lola here. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you how good a coach Watson is? Or
A
does
little bit of that.
yeah, or does it tell you that Lola here,
He's in the right environment.
correct, he couldn't handle the pressure at Leeds and he
Oh,
wasn't maybe allowed
But he
to.
feels a bit more
Yeah,
out of the spotlight. He's got Jackson Hastings playing
This
alongside
is what I'm
him.
saying here. So he obviously couldn't handle the pressure at Leeds. What was falling him? But bearing in mind, when he did come over, he said, "Yes, I want the number 6 jersey. I want to be the main playmaker. I want to be the guy who gets him around the field." He didn't do that. But as you just said, Phil, he's in maybe a happy environment. He's got a quality halfback at the side of him in Jackson Hastings, and
Who
again,
apparently was fantastic yesterday.
when I keep harping on, and I say it week in and week out, having that right balance at half-back where, yes, Jackson Hastings will take all the pressure, then when Lola here wants to come in and do what he wants to do, whether he's playing the right or the right-hand side, and Watson, fair play to him, he's given him that responsibility and he's getting a tune out of him. So, yeah, so well done Lola here.
But it's
and,
worked for both clubs. 'Cause
absolutely.
I have to say,
Yeah,
Louis
yeah.
has been one of the reasons why Leeds has been transformed over the last couple of weeks. So it worked for everybody. But I just think now Salford are in a very good position to
Absolutely.
get in the
Oh, we've
final.
had
And
it.
the manner of that victory
Well, they'll be looking...
surprised me because I know that London have been notoriously slow starters.
Yeah.
Too much this season. Danny Ward said it again after the game, and it's no good scoring 20 of their points when the game's already gone. But that is a big win in the capital.
Absolutely,
To put
massive.
50. I think that's the first time this year London have conceded over 50.
Is it? Right. I'll tell you what, though, Salford will be licking their lips this week. They'll be wanting
They
revenge.
can't do what Salford historically do and take it for granted that because they've had a really good win that they'll have it easy this
Do
week.
you know what? I don't think
Because
that's...
the last time they played,
Somehow I don't think they would be allowed to, because Ian Watson Well, he even said on television, you know, he was embarrassed, wasn't
well,
he?
that's got to be one of their poorest displays of the season.
Absolutely.
Because that was a young Huddersfield team.
Yeah, it was. And Watson said they seem to want it more than we do, and that is not acceptable for me. It's not acceptable for this club.
And if they're going to get in the playoffs, they've got to prove that they can win games like that.
Absolutely. Put a marker down. They have.
You know what'll happen when we get to the predictions? We'll go for Salford and Huddersfield. We'll go for Salford to win by 700 points, and Huddersfield will beat them like they did the other week. Elsewhere on social media, Noel says, congratulations Saints on the League Leaders Shield, simply the best. They are at the moment.
When are they going to get presented?
Yeah, when's it getting presented, do we know?
Well, they've got 2 away games now, so
Right.
you can't see them doing it at Warrington.
And certainly we'll be doing it at Leeds.
So it'll be after Wembley.
Yeah.
Our friends at the Brian Bevan podcast say there's space for John Wilkin now on the show. He's on enough podcasts. We don't need...
Saw him yesterday at Bradford.
You doing a podcast at the same time?
Yeah, they had a...
Interviewing
He
players?
did a really good tunnel pass.
Yeah.
And he kicked a couple of times, and they were good.
Should we talk about the Championship for a bit? We haven't talked about the Championship yet, I don't think. Let's start with Bradford versus Toronto. It was on TV. We all saw what used to be the iconic console scene, but I noticed in the last week the mood is shifting now from iconic console to millstone around my neck console. People need to talk about Bradford. To be honest, I'm bored of the whole story. So, you know, if I know Mark's done an invite to the powers that be at Bradford, if they come in, so be it. If not,
The strange thing about that is, it seems very odd to me that you will be complaining about the level of rent that you're paying when you've only got 2 home games to go this season. And the fact that you're paying it to the governing body, who have sanctioned you to be there in the first place, it just all seems very odd to me at the moment. It's a very strange relationship. What I did think, I mean, the last time I was at Odsall before yesterday was for the cup tie with Leeds. 10,500 people there, fantastic atmosphere, fervent support, brilliant day for Bradford, played the whole occasion magnificently. 3,500 there yesterday, which a couple of hundred were from Toronto.
Yeah.
I don't know what...
Taking more apparently than Wakefield took to St Helens according to the letters page in the paper.
But what seemed odd to me was that was the game Bradford had to win, I think, I know that John Keir is saying mathematically we can still make the 5. I think they had to win yesterday. And at half time, they were in pole position to do it. They couldn't hang on, partly down to the experience of that Toronto team in the second half, who tied up their defence magnificently. But what more do Bradford fans want? You know, they've had a result this season that they've traded on the back of that they could be very, very proud of. They were playing the best team in that division, who play some great rugby and bring some of the star names to their ground. Half of that Bradford, those fans that turned up for the cup tie, are not there for the league game. To me, as Andrew Chalmers, I'd be more worried about that than trying to renegotiate with the people that we already know who they are, and you know, we don't know what rent they pay, if any, at the moment, because it's shrouded in this the RFL owning the ground. That would be a worry for me. Where have all the Bradford fans gone?
And earlier in the season, there was that big joint statement that they're going to do something up. Well, I don't know anyway. But where are the fans? Where are the fans at a lot of these clubs? You know.
But it was a great game. Bradford were brilliant in the first half. Built an 18-4 lead and looked like they were going to go on and win it. Unfortunately for them, there's just too many experienced heads in that Toronto team. When they fire, they are really, really good. I can't see Toronto not getting promoted, because as well as the squad, and they only played with 16 players yesterday because they've got some injuries, and they will nurse it around because they've got time to... Their games now are all in Toronto from here on in. I think they've got the right coach that's going to get them up, and that's nothing against Paul Rowley, but I just think they've got a guy at the helm that knows how to win the big games. On the way they came back in the second half, Bradford didn't manage the last 3 or 4 minutes. You talk about Cass, obviously didn't set up for a field goal. Bradford were 21-18 down, and 7 minutes from time got a penalty and kicked the 2, and you're just thinking, I'm not sure why, keep the pressure on. They then went for a 40-metre drop goal, which, with the greatest respect, they were never going to get. It was admirable of Jordan Lilly to try it, but all that does is just give 7 tackles away to the opposition. And then they needed a short kick-off. Even at 25-20, they still, you know, 1 score and they're back in the game, and they didn't.
Tim says the novelty's worn off with Toronto in terms of, I'm guessing, attracting a crowd, but...
No, it hasn't, because they took 200 fans, which is the most they've ever taken to an away game.
I guess if you're not going to go watch Bradford against Toronto, who are you going? If you're picking and choosing
more
fixtures in
than
the Championship,
even
who are
though
you going to go and watch them
Toronto are an attraction with who they bring, and obviously the fact that Brian McDermott was back also and Brian O. But the fact is that's a game Bradford had to win.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even about who they were playing. Bradford had to win that game. You'd have thought that more people would have gone and watched.
I think it's up to clubs to charge whatever they want, and I'm not, we sit in a privileged position. What we do, it's okay saying we're paying too much in rent, but are you charging the punters too much to go in?
28 quid's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Championship Rugby League.
Is that what it is to watch Bradford?
That's what it was. If you wanted to go on the day and sit on the main stand.
I know people will come on and say, well, it's expensive to go sit in the main stand at Headingley, but that's a brand new facility. And I'm defending Leeds, so what? Elsewhere in the Championship, York, they are second, still a point clear of Toulouse because they won at Barrow 24-16, and they now travel, of course, to Toronto. Old York versus New York or whatever it is, in Toronto. 6 o'clock kickoff on Saturday on the telly. Toulouse, they are still third. They beat Halifax, sounding like a cracker there. Halifax leading at half time and Toulouse winning 30-22 in the end. Lee, who, we give a lot of stick to Featherstone for being the Leeds reserve grade side. We should say the same for Swinton, who are Wigan's reserve grade side. Maybe that's part of their resurgence, I don't know. But they have plenty of Wigan help. But Lee came back from 24-14 down at half time to beat Swinton 31-30. Matty Ashen with 4 tries in the game for the Lions. But Lee edging it in the end. Ryan Briley with a field goal. And Lee now are 6 points clear in 4th of those outside the top 5. So big result for Lee, especially to come back on that one. And as we said on before this programme, he's put his money where his mouth is again, has Degsy. And they are in position to put up a fight in this playoff series coming up.
5 games this week across the divisions, finished with a point between the teams, and 1 game was drawn. And just on the game that was drawn, Whitehaven Workington, we were saying again, fans need to turn out to score record 2,300.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
Fantastic.
Sensational.
And witnessed a 12-all draw, which...
It was a decent game as well by all accounts, So yeah, well done to the companies for turning out.
That is a
brilliant, isn't it? Absolutely.
One of those games decided by a point was Featherstone winning at Dewsbury 25-24. Decent crowd there, 1,229. Dane Chisholm, formerly of Bradford. And again, we look at that decision now and we don't know the exact ins and outs behind it. But he goes from Bradford and he goes to Featherstone, and Featherstone now 5 points clear of Bradford in the race for the top 5
Do you
places.
think Sheffield and Bradford can now make the 5, or have we got the 5 that are going to be in the League One place? I don't think there's going to be any change.
No.
Sheffield got a big carrot at the end of a stick coming up at the end of the month as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Which is going to play on their mind, you'd think.
So if we've got the 5 that are going to be in position to contest the playoffs, can anybody beat Toronto, do you think?
Toronto, no.
You think Lee can go there and beat them?
No.
Or Toulouse could go there and beat
Beat
them?
them twice.
No, I don't, mate. No. They've learned heavily from last year, haven't they? Everybody expected them to turn London over. London were fantastic, and they got the wind into 4-0. But Toronto have learnt the lesson. We know they sat the coach. They brought in a guy who's been there, seen it, done it. Certainly when pressure games are on, when it's a business end of the season. Yeah, Toronto for me quite easily.
I think they've got probably the player of the championship in Ricky Lutelli. Again, he was excellent again yesterday. A couple of really good tries.
But also too, and they say bringing John Wilkin, he just steadies the ship, doesn't he?
Yeah.
When you watch it, But when you talk about composure and somebody just waiting to, what John's doing now, it's easily done. He's just coming to a game when he wants to, come out of the game when he wants to, just watch what's going on. They talk about play with your eyes and play where we should always play with your eyes in reduction. You should always, if you're a guy out there who's an organiser, you should always be looking. And I know they call it scanning now. Well, hold on. You should just be having a look at it.
Is that the new name for vision and awareness?
Have a bit of vision. Be aware of what's going around. It's scanning. Scanning what? What you're scanning? You've got a pitch that's 77 yards wide. That's where the awareness is. You're looking from there. But Wilkins been brought in to do a job, and he's doing it brilliantly.
Well, Gareth O'Brien didn't play. But Hakim Maloudi came in at fullback and I thought was man of the match again. Bradford defence couldn't really hold him every time. Yeah. So that kind of quality that you can interchange.
Yeah, you see also as well, from his performance, you know, because I asked somebody at half time when I was at OKR what score was, and the kid, looks like they're going to get turned over. But what McDermott's brought in there is just that they don't panic. Let's be patient. And, you know, we all know Macca from his job at Leeds United. We'll go for the full 80. It's like the Sean Wayne philosophy. We will play for the full 80 minutes and we'll be patient, and we know that we will not having that mentality of we know how to win a game, but we'll stay in that grind. We'll stay in that. And we know we can grind out a win. We know we can get there.
They got 3 tries in 9 minutes at the start of the second half, and it just turned the contest completely.
See, there's no panic there, is there? No. Composure,
back-to-back
no
sets
panic. Absolutely. Just and also again, and that's what they were yesterday. Hulk, I was sort of a little bit better than what Casper was. They were smarter than what Casper was.
Yeah.
At the important times of the game, important minutes of the game, they were smarter than what Casper was, and that's what Toronto have been.
Well, the other thing that Toronto have is 2 hookers that are diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
So this time they started with Andy Ackers, who created the first try and the one after half time with his speed and vision out of play. But when they needed to close the game down, they bought Bob Ezekle.
Yeah.
It's a great combination.
It's called the right balance, Phil. Having the right balance, it is. You know, we talked about Huddersfield and Leeds. Leeds got the right balance with their hookers. Let Lumpy just wear it down and they sort of do.
You could see why they bought Lumpy.
He's good at what he does. He's good at what he does.
He doesn't make mistakes, but he takes the pass that he gave for Briscoe's try.
You know, he's
good
at what he does. He's good at
a gap out.
Correct. It's having that balance.
But then he goes off, and the speed guy comes.
But you look the other way. You know, O'Brien is exactly the same what Lunty is. He'll grind, and then you bring the flashy guy up, leave him rather than the other way around.
I would have thought so.
We've been asked about Joe Reg and the playoffs. I'm assuming it's like last year with the Super 8s where you had to declare a squad?
I think there's a decision to be made about where your players are going to play, which is why Wellington Albert has now gone to Featherstone for the remainder of the season. He can't go back to Leeds now. So there will be some decisions over the next... Is it Friday, the transfer deadline, I think?
Richie, on social media, has there been much reaction from a point of view for what I have said, you know, regarding do people think it's too heavy, do they think it won't happen, or what? Has there been much reaction from that? 4 points to the fine, or are they just not bothered? Are they not bothered?
I think some people are questioning who is on the disciplinary committee, which is interesting, because I've heard those complaints from within the sport as well, without naming any names. I think generally people...
I think people want to see action.
People outside of... I don't want to say all Warrington fans.
But we want to see the action quickly, Phil.
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't want this 10 months.
No.
And then somebody goes, it's a suspended fine.
I think some people are more upset that, say, Chris Hill's got 0 matches for punching. I think we need to, as a sport, I've said this point before, I'll say it again, this bring back the biff nonsense, load of old nonsense. Use the word I used the other week to describe it's the same thing. I enjoy watching rugby league because I want to see players do things I can't do because they've got the skill and the talent to do so. If I want to see people fighting, I can go down any street in the north of England on a Saturday night and see pound chop hard men who these people think they are fighting. There's nothing hard about fighting on a rugby field at all.
I just think there needs to be consistency. If a guy's been given 2 gap matches for punching and another guy's been given virtually licence to do it again.
So what's the difference?
What is it? And it's the same with a dangerous tackle. A dangerous tackle is a dangerous tackle, isn't it?
Dangerous contact.
So if the dangerous contact is 2 games, then why do some people get no games? And yes, there are explanations on the website, so you can go on and read why they've come up with it. But I just think after an incident like this, the whole thing needs to be looked at.
I think some people were amused at you handing out the sentence before we'd looked at all the evidence.
Well, that's what I think. There needs to be a very, very
hold
quick
on. The evidence was quite clear. The evidence was quite clear on the pitch, and the evidence was quite clear in the stands.
But I think we've only seen what the French TV director decided to show.
I think you do need to know what caused
right.
Your theory is correct.
This is what I'm saying, Phil. Right, we're never ever going to get to know who's this and who's that.
Oh, I think we will.
I bet you we don't. So what I'm saying, what I said before is, the blame game, the blame is not Warrington's 40% and it's not Catalan's
No.
60 or vice versa. This blame is 100% you because of what your players did on the field and what your spectators did. So this is it. This is not a blame
I
game.
think
This is 100% both of you as clubs.
What the sport needs to do is make a definitive statement about that incident and say, following on from that, there will be recommendations that will be implemented for the whole of the sport.
Stuart,
And if they decide that stewarding needs to be looked at, then that's fine. But something, what's a shame, I think, is that we still don't have a spokesperson for the sport. So if this had been football, then somebody from the FA would have been on a Sunday morning on Radio 4 talking about the incident. We haven't had anybody from authority coming out and saying, this is what we intend to do about it,
Stuart,
and the timescale that we're going to do it in.
Stuart has said he's not happy with your comments about James Charles saying he had to be stronger. I think there has, and he says the players need to grow up, control their emotions, and have some respect. I think I would like to see the referees hand out more cards for dissent.
I agree.
And we saw yesterday in the Women's Super League, there's a player sent off for Bradford for dissent. Obviously, I don't know what happened, but the referee thought it's strong enough to be sent off.
Talking of statements, though, I would also hope that Steve Ganson would have come out today in support of his referee.
And it's the same in football. The players show the referees no respect and they get away with it because they're not shown any punishment. And we need to keep saying that we are going to go down this route.
But also,
everyone crowds around the referee. Don't they?
And also another annoying thing from Saturday was, and I say we were talking about with the referee, was, you know, the commentator must have said between 6 and 10 times, we apologise. Well, is it the TV people who control their match? Well, just turn it off. Just turn it off.
And if we lose the crowd reaction because
so
it's on the same front,
just turn it off.
Yeah, you can't keep apologising.
I agree.
And I also heard James Child say a couple of times that the communication system wasn't working. So I think he was having some issues with the fourth official that was in the stand and his two touch judges, because that system means they can all talk to each other. If he wasn't getting some of the feedback that he wanted, you can understand why it was a fractious game. But that doesn't allow fans in the stadium to take the law into their own hands.
Final couple of results in the Championship. Rochdale are down. They lost 50 points to 26 to Batley. And Sheffield beat Winners on Friday night.
What's happened at Rochdale? Because
the coach
a year or so ago we were talking about Alan Kilshaw.
Doing a great job, by the way. Doing a great job.
And he was the up and coming young coach, and would be in the frame for bigger and better things as his career panned out. What's gone wrong there?
Well, I think is it directors have come in fit to know it all, and decided to bring the old boys back in Callan and the hooker from Wigan, Martin, is it the hooker at Wigan? Martin Hall.
Yeah.
Martin Hall.
Ex-player.
Yeah, I think he's a football director. They brought Callan back from there, and it's been a disaster, absolute disaster. So I think it's just directors thinking, they think they know it all, and we'll do it this way, and it's gone absolutely pear-shaped.
Will they recover from this though? Because if they're in League
One, they're in the same
yeah.
position as the likes of Bradford, the likes of Swinton. They don't have their own ground. They are, like
all gone pear-shaped. All gone pear-shaped.
And it looks as though the other relegation place will be between Barrow and Widnes. I think Dewsbury are just about safe now. I know Widnes have got Wembley on the horizon.
I think
they've got a good young team.
Yeah, they've got too much quality, haven't they?
They've won clearly 12 games this year, but they're suffering from their.
And Barrow, speaking to Paul Cleary as well, they've got loads of injuries, and he's not making excuses, Paul, for injuries, but they are pretty long term, So Widnes have got too much quality to go down. To be honest with you, I know. It doesn't matter if you've got quality or not. If you go down, you go down. But I just think Widnes have got enough, and unfortunately for Barrow, they're going to go.
And in League One, Newcastle are clearly making a play.
Money.
I know Whitehaven are 3 points clear, but there's still, the chance to get up through playoffs. And Newcastle won't even have given up chance of catching them because they've got a game in hand that could mean there's only 1 point between them. But QLT signed for them and scored on his debut. They are clearly serious about getting out of that division.
Whitehaven have got the week off this week, haven't they? Newcastle are away at Oldham, which is a massive game. If I was the person who picks the games for the app, that's the one I'd pick rather than Rochdale League. I don't know why they've picked that.
Have they picked Rochdale?
That's what it says according to the paper. I don't know why they've picked that.
So already relegated Rochdale are playing already in the 5 league.
Well, they may change that game. I don't know. But
I would Newcastle Oldham.
I don't know what the ground's like at Oldham in terms of broadcast facilities either. But there you go. So results then in the League One, Coventry 20, Keighley 46, Hunslet 42, North Wales 18, London scores 14, Oldham 15. London's form has just completely fallen, and important win for Oldham, obviously there. They were 14-6 up at half time, so the drop goal in 45 minutes, that's all they needed. West Wales could not go back to back, losing to Newcastle 68-6. And Whitehaven Workington 12-all draw, 2,500 there nearly in Cumbria. Whitehaven top, Newcastle second, then Oldham. Hunslet, Doncaster and Workington currently make up the top 6. And with London's form,
you would say the fact that they've got to go to Doncaster this week, so lose that, I reckon we've got the 5 in the playoffs in League One as well.
Yeah, North Wales, where were they this week? They were at home to Coventry, so that's a big game because Coventry obviously have had that disappointing loss a couple of weeks ago to the West Wales.
But their book's out.
Yes,
Coventry's
well, I've actually bought it, so it will be on the table next week. I think it should arrive, so something to look forward to. It's looking on social media. Was the Farimo penalty try really worth an 8-point try in the Hull Wigan game?
What do you reckon?
Well, it's the law and it's the rules, isn't it? You know, you can't attack anyone in there.
You saw one at Hull KR yesterday. Was it similar? Tackled in the air?
Yeah, tackled in the air, yeah. But when you looked at the Farimo one, realistically, he was just in the wrong place, wasn't he? You know, he didn't make an attempt, and then when he realised,
I think that's the thing, isn't it?
It was a reaction from him, really, thinking, oh, it's got over my head, and I should have realistically been in a better field position. And it was just a reaction. There was no malice in that tackle. Well, there was never going to be any doubt where the Wigan Marshall was going to get hurt or anything. It was just in the wrong,
I think
in the wrong position. It was a reaction.
As you say, didn't contest the ball.
He didn't contest the ball.
Had he at least made the attempt, he got away with it.
He just got himself in all sorts, wasn't anywhere, and it was just a frustrating reaction. That's all it was. But the rules are the rules, the laws are the laws, and it would have penalty shot.
Right that if that had been in Australia, it wouldn't have given it.
I don't know.
I don't know. Mind you,
they play different rules.
They play different rules.
I don't know if Phil Clark makes things up.
Warren, nice show on Friday. Toby says, question for the legend: which halfback should Warrington get before Friday, or should they go all out to get Winnip early? They're not going to get Winnip, are they? So, but do they need a halfback?
Well, they need anybody available, isn't it? Who they're going to get?
Well, this is what's going to be interesting this week because there's a lot of clubs in the market for players, but who is available?
Yeah, or what quality is available as well, to be honest. Yeah, if they can get Winnip. Well, yeah, St George can't make it, can they? So, will they allow him to go? I'll tell you what, I bet that...
presumably they'd have to deregister somebody then.
Well, they might, it depends how bad, if his injury's bad, they'll deregister Blake, won't they? Blake Austin, deregister him.
What if he's got a chance of...
They'll have to do, won't they? They'll have to do, Phil.
Interesting.
Well, we don't know to say how bad the injury is.
One thing I was going to ask you about that Wigan Hull game. Form Zach Hardacre at the moment because he had a really quiet start to the season, almost as if he was settling into his new club. Yeah. But at the moment, he's playing really, really well. Well,
Zach is like all the other Wigan players now, but certainly from, as we all know, where Zach has come from and there. But now, the ship has steadied and he has steadied.
And he knows Adrian Lamb's going to be there next year.
And now you can see that on him. You can see he's not from a point of view where he's happy. I think you can see the confidence because he's giving it this now. And also to his team.
And he's taking on responsibility.
He's taking that
responsibility. He's not just taking the ball.
And his teammates are coming up and giving him this. Yeah. So what Zach is doing now, Zach is feeling part of that Wigan side. He's feeling part of that Wigan dressing room. And he is getting back. He is getting back to where he was at Castleford.
Would you stick Bevan French in at fullback and Zach Lee put him in the centres?
I think Zach's position is a fullback. I don't think it's a centre.
Bevan French will score tries, that is for sure.
Yeah, well, Zach is a fullback for me. He is, and now he's got the trust of all the Wigan players, certainly the coaching staff from there. The trust of all the Wigan players. You can see he's got that smile back on his face. He's got that confidence, but most importantly, he feels part of that Wigan club.
And that
he does.
Winning drop goal will increase that confidence.
But what about his goal kicking as well?
It's good.
Oh, it's sensational. Yeah, well done, Zach. To be honest with you,
and he's changed his game. Because he used to be, on the shoulder of a Luke Gale and shooting through the gaps. Now he's more of a schemer.
he's growing up as a player. That's what he's doing on
And
the field.
he's filmed
Well,
out
hopefully,
from it as well.
hopefully he's growing up off the field, as we all know what's going on. But on the field, he's growing up as a player, and he's getting back to his best.
And he
There's no
could
two
be
ways
the X
about it.
factor for Wigan in the
We've
playoffs.
had it. There's no two ways about that. Wigan are going to be knocking on the door. They are knocking on the door.
Can you stick him on the magazine next month?
Probably not.
Final one before we get on to the predictions. Nicholas says, speculate for me, gentlemen. Rochdale and Barrow look like they're both going down. They're both coming to Toronto soon, potentially not to be in the same league as Wolfpack next year. Will they send the full squad and a number of fans because it might be their last chance for a while, or will they send the skeleton crew? My thought is one last blowout party with everyone who can coming over. Might be some big scores there.
I think it depends on the finances of those two clubs, to be honest.
Right, it is the
Not the kind of games that Toronto want in preparation for the playoffs, to be fair.
It is time, much like Berry Market, for the world famous 4020 live predictions. We'll be starting Super League on Thursday night as the league leaders, St Helens, back-to-back league leaders, travel to Whitehall in a prelude of the preview of the Challenge Cup final in a couple of weeks' time. Gary's Cup.
Ding ding, that's for Warrington players and fans. Ding ding, round 2. It's St Helens on Thursday.
Sorry, the person just fallen off their bike listening to the podcast.
So, Warrington, well, as I say, after that defeat, Blake Austin not playing, St Helens, they'll just want to keep the momentum rolling. They know exactly what's happening in a couple of weeks' time, and they'll also want to put a marker down. They want to make sure they're consistent. I think at St Helens, Warrington forwards can't boss the Saints forwards. I think St Helens will win this quite easy. I'm going to St Helens by 16.
Warrington got quite close last time for 70 minutes. There was nothing between the teams. I just think that psychologically, Saints will be saying this is as much about 2 weeks' time as it. We've already won the Shield. We know that you're in disarray form-wise. We know that you're going to have some players missing. We're not going to worry about any of that. We want you to go to Wembley thinking we don't know how to beat this team. So I can't see Saints letting up on this. I know Lachlan Coo is still out, but I think Saints need a performance. The last couple of weeks, although they've won, it's almost like they've played within themselves in the semi-final and against Wakefield in the second half last week. I think Saints will give it all this week, and Saints by 12.
People get very upset at this part of the programme, which is always funny, for the reasons we put up. You do whatever you want, we're not bothered, you know.
We don't have any malice against any particular team. It's like,
well, I do on one team, but we don't mention who they are, so it's all right. I've gone with St Helens to win because they are better than Warrington. At the minute, St Helens by 8. Don't need to expand on that. On Friday, there are 2 games in Super League, and I will be at one of them, and that is at Emerald Headingley Stadium as Leeds Rhinos take on what is left of the Catalan Dragons, who haven't been banned for dragging this sport in the dirt. These foreigners. Well, we tell you, put them in the league and see what happens. Gary Schofield.
Well, the Catalans, as you mentioned, Rich, it depends what side they're going to bring, but one for the show, Matty Smith will be playing, so there's no chance of winning. No chance of winning whatsoever because he's playing. So I say Leeds Rhinos, now for the end of the season, they can't make the 5, but they'll be wanting to making sure, and again, it's just up to the senior players. Finish well with consistency in performance from there, and yeah, the Leeds fans are desperate for a big performance on Friday night, and I think they'll get it. You know, Richie now is getting a tune out of the players. The players that seem to have got that smile back on their faces, plenty of confidence. But the senior players, again, turn up on Friday night like he did last Friday at Huddersfield. I think the Leeds are going to win these easy. I think Leeds are going to beat Catalans by 24.
one of the performances that have put Leeds on the road to recovery, and they're not there yet, was at home to Catalan, which was about a month ago, when they actually played well for the full 80 minutes and won the game late on, which is something that they tended to lose games late on. The most important thing, I think, on last Friday night for Leeds was the nil. I think they'll work on the back of that. They know they can score points. And if the defence is as solid as it was last week against Catalan, this week, who admittedly will have at least 5 players missing, then I think Leeds might mathematically secure their status in Super League with a 12-point reach.
I sent my tips for the media tipping competition last night and I put Leeds by 2, and that was before all the players got banned. I'm still going to go with Leeds, but I'm going to go by a bit more now. I'm not going to change my tips for the tipping comp because I can't be bothered and I can't win. I'm going to go for Leeds to win this one by 10. I think it'll be an interesting game, and it is the game on TV. The game, I understand, which should be on TalkSport 2, is Wigan Warriors versus Hull Kingston Rovers. Gary Schofield.
Well, okay, I went there, what's around about 3-4 weeks ago, wasn't it? And
Got towelled.
yeah, expecting a little bit better from OKR, but anyway, but Wigan, they're in form, aren't they? And the big players are in form as well, so OKR have got bigger fish to fry, certainly at home in the next few weeks coming, certainly in Wakefield and London at home from there, and we're going to just play too good at the moment. I can't see them being a surprise from there. I'm not saying Hull KR will turn this up. You know, Tony Smith as a coach and when the senior players, you know, the attitude won't allow that. But when Wigan put 50 past them a few weeks ago, they were sensational. You know, and I can't see Adrian Lam looking for anything different to making sure that not just the performance, but they'll want a few points because the points following the games could be pretty vital for that top 3 spot or even second spot for Wigan as well, chasing Warrington. So. And not just want a performance, but he will want plenty of points, and I think they will get plenty of points, to be honest with you, from there. I'm going Wigan by 36.
I think this is the floor with loop fixtures. There's plenty of floors with loop fixtures. In fact, there shouldn't be any loop fixtures. But the fact is, all of these games are repeated. What we've seen about 4 weeks ago is ridiculous. I don't know how you sell them. I'm with you on this. I think Wigan under Adrian Lam will be looking at the next 2 fixtures till they get the break again for Wembley. They'll be looking at catching Warrington.
Points and against,
And he's got Warrington next week, so he knows if he beats Hull KR this week and he can beat Warrington next week, they'll have the same number of, they could have the same number of points as Warrington. So I can't see Wigan letting up on the way they played last week. There was something miserly about them again, very Wigan-like in the way that they're playing at the moment. And I think that it'll have taken a lot emotionally out of Hull KR to win the way they did this week. I think they'll look at their fixtures and say, look, the week after that we've got a much bigger game, Wakefield. So I can see Wigan winning this maybe by 20 points, but I can't see that doing any damage to Hull KR long term.
People who just watch the predictions as a standalone video will see an extra chair there and I and think, what is it? Yeah, Roy Hattersley was against.
It was a yellow card for Danica.
There was a reference for the teenagers. Wigan will win this one. I've gone for a big score as well, and it's no disrespect to Hull KR, but I think they've got bigger fish to fry coming up, and Wigan are one of the form sides, and we keep saying, well, I keep saying they're going to win the grand final, and I said it facetiously before, but now I'm starting to believe it. And they will win this weekend by 24 points. There is one game on Saturday.
Yes, Saturday night. Why are they playing Saturday night?
I'm not working Saturday. I could go to games Friday, Saturday and Sunday night this week. I'm not going to. But I could do. Castleford Tigers take on the London Broncos. Scully.
Yeah, Castleford Tigers, certainly Darrell, he wanted 7 from 7. He's not got it, has he? But after the Hull KR performance, he'll want the reaction. I guess Danny Ward as well will want the reaction. But when London went up there a few weeks ago, they didn't start out well from there, and at this moment in time it seems to be a bit of a problem for London, certainly for the first 40 minutes, whether they're playing at home or away at this moment in time. And Castleford want the reaction, they want to make sure that they're knocking on the door of the top 5 still. And I say Leeds got Catalans from there, so he's been looking again not just for a performance, he'll want plenty of points. There's only one winner here for me, that's Castleford Tigers. I think it's be around about 26 points.
Darrell has to get a reaction from his team, because if they weren't to win this game, they're in danger of not making the 5, and that would be a disaster for them. He can't allow the likes of Catalan and Salford to get away from them. I think he will secretly would have been absolutely livid with throwing that game away, and that's not to take anything away from Hull KR, who found a way to win it, but I think Darrell will be upset that if they're going to do anything this year, you can't keep allowing that to happen. So I think he'll want a massive reaction from his team. I think he'll get the hard word out there this week. I think the problem for London is again, it's a game that it's important because you've got to take form week in, week out. But it's not the 3 games at the end of the season that are going to determine whether they stay up or not. So I can't see Cass not winning this, and I'll say Cass by 12.
I said I was going to go to this, but I want A, because I can't be bothered, and B, because last time I went to go watch Cass at home, it took forever to get the post-match press conference, and that's the only reason I go there. Castleford let me down on Sunday by not winning at Hull KR. I hate Cass now, but I'm still going to tip them to win this one. It's all about the bottom of the table, I don't care. I'm going to tip Cas to win, and I'm going to go for Casford by 18. Sunday, 2 games, and this is the one where we've already been told, don't tip Salford, says Salford Killer 74 in the YouTubes. All the Salford fans are going to get very upset, whatever happens, because if we tip them, they'll get annoyed. If we tip them against them, get annoyed, because they have got the thinnest skins of any rugby league fans in the country. But Dr. Kukash saying people tipped Salford to finish bottom. No, they didn't. Stop lying. Salford versus Huddersfield.
Well, I couldn't care less what you Salford fans think anyway, because I'm tipping you. I couldn't care less. I'm going to tip you quite heavily as well, because on 2 points here, when you look at both these sides, first of all, Huddersfield from last Friday, yeah, Wolford wants a reaction, and he needs a reaction. It's simple as that. And he wanted a reaction when they played Salford. It was around about 3 or 4 weeks ago, wasn't it, again? So, and he got one. It was one of the best Huddersfield's best performances all season. He got one. And but also as well, Watson wants a reaction as well, not because of the way they beat London from there, the consistency. He wants a reaction the way that Huddersfield embarrassed Salford on that day as well. And what Watt said as well, they wanted it more than us. No team should come here and want it more than what we do. We should always want to win at home and create an atmosphere from there. And he'll be drilling that into his players. And I would imagine revenge will be a word as well. We want revenge on these because they embarrassed us. And that's what they did. And I think Salford with the form of the hint, Lola here is getting a tune out of him from now. That combination between him and Ace is working nicely. The forwards are laying the platform from there, and I can only see one win here. And I think it's going to be quite easily because of the way Huddersfield battered them 3 or 4 weeks ago. So Salford fans, you're going to like this. You're going to like this, Salford fans.
Not a lot.
You're going to like it, Salford fans.
Pop up now.
The Legends tipping it to beat Huddersfield by 34 points.
I think you're right on the revenge factor, but I also
What are you laughing at, Richie? It's 34 points, Salford.
I also think that if Catalan have lost on Friday night, then Salford know they can go back into the 5. And that's really important at this stage of the season. And I can't see them slipping up. I think as well as Huddersfield played at Salford the last time, with a young and very enthusiastic team, Salford were complacent. They believed the publicity of having won the week before.
Yeah.
We're playing a team that we can easily beat. And I think Ian Watson's too good a coach to let that happen twice.
He won't let it happen twice.
And the manner in which they beat London says a lot about them at the moment.
Yeah.
So I can only go with Salford. I couldn't believe how disappointing Huddersfield were at home this week. Whether you thought they were going to win or lose, nobody predicted they were going to lose by 44 at home. That was a real capitulation towards the end, and I don't know how he turned that around. So I'm going to go Salford by 24.
Well done to Leeds for shutting up the cowbell on behalf of the rest of the nation who follows rugby league. When your club relies on marketing based on a bloody bell, there's something wrong. I may have given away who I don't like. I like Salford. I'd tell you wear a Salford shirt on the show, and I will do eventually. I think Salford would win. I've gone for them by 2. But
Salford by 2.
But it could be like you said, Scotty. They've got a lot of factors in their favour to go out and actually obliterate Huddersfield at the weekend. Because of that game a few weeks ago, because they played so well last week, they want to keep that run going. And Ian Watson's talking positively about a run in the top 5, and who knows what could happen if they make it into the top 5. So Salford by 2, but we'll see what happens.
Can I just add one point as well? It's like what I say with Martin Smith with Catalans. They can't win if Martin Smith play with Catalans, and the same with Huddersfield. If he picks Frawley this week, Huddersfield Giants have absolutely no chance.
And we're definitely overstaying our welcome with you. Thanks for staying with us. Wakefield Trinity versus Hull FC. Oh,
I tell you what, this is the fixture of this weekend because both teams are desperate. Both teams are so desperate for a win. Wakefield at this moment in time, well, they're out with the washing, aren't they? They're out with the washing of Wakefield. They can't get a tune out of them. Can't Chris, and he's all right saying, well, yeah, we got a draw in the second half against St Helens. So what? Wowee, you got hammered in the first 40 minutes, and the black and whites, Radazzi, he's got a big problem there to get a smile back on the face on his best player in Jake Connor. So this is the fix of the weekend because both teams are so desperate. Would I say for a performance? I've got to say for a performance, but then also as well, desperate most importantly for the 2 points. So, I'll tell you what, the way the both teams are playing, it's hard to call. It's hard to call, and, I think whichever team is more desperate for the full 80 minutes is going to get this, and they've got the bloke when things are desperate, it comes up with some magic kick, doesn't it? You know, so Mark Sneed, he's going to be the winner for the black and whites at the weekend. Danny Brough, he can't at the moment, he can't kick a cow's backside, can he? You know, so he's totally out of form from there. So you would maybe say on his day he could be the match winner for Wakefield, but I think Sneedy's going to be the match winner for the black and whites. And in full time in 80 minutes, I'm going to go the black and whites by a point. I can't separate them because they're both so desperate, and they're desperate for a performance and desperate for a win. I can only go the black and whites by a point. Mark Sneedy's going to be the winner again with a drop goal.
I think if Warrington have lost to St Helens on the Thursday, Hull know that at least in terms of points they can go level in second, which is their goal, having not got to Wembley. And I think that the fact that they went so close to Wigan so soon after that semi-final, both mentally and physically, what that took out of them, this is a game that I think Lee Radford will be saying to his players, if you're going to do anything this year, we can promise the support to whatever we want, but if you are going to do anything, you've got to win this game.
Yeah.
I just don't know what Wakefield... I think Hull have a new back rower from New Zealand Warriors in as well in time again. I don't know what Wakefield can do unless they can get a couple of players on board. And it'd be very interesting if they do get Chris Green as opposed to James. Yeah. Whether Hull will allow him to play against them. Again, I don't think this is a game Wakefield can win at the moment. I think their form is too poor. I think there are games that they can win that might salvage their season, but this isn't one of them. I don't know if Jacob Miller will be playing. He's one of the latest to be out injured. I'm going to go Hull by 8.
I picked the same number. Unless, of course, because by the time you watch this, all the transfers may have been made. Still hoping perhaps Jonathan Thurston comes in. More likely to get JT from the bloody Castle and Tiger, the mascot. Hull by 8. I know. That's that. We're done. We've gone way over time, but we
blame Danica.
Yeah, we don't care. She was great, wasn't she? And proof positive that there are plenty of people out there in rugby league who can speak about the game and speak well about the game, who aren't being used enough in the mainstream media. But there you go. We'll get her back on if she wants to come back. I don't know.
I thought you were talking about me then.
Well, it goes without saying, doesn't it? Goes without saying.
And I think she gave us a perspective on an area of the game that we don't normally get. So I was grateful for her to be here.
Don't like it, go to something else, as we always say, because it's true. We'll be back with you on Monday. I think Mark's back on Monday. So it'll be the usual 4 as ever, talking about everything in the world of rugby league. Just behave. So we don't need to say it to these people, do they? You all behave anyway, but all the other people.
If you know anybody who doesn't behave, tell them to behave.
Tell them. Tell someone. See it, stamp it out. Whatever it is. Good night.